Chapter 1553. You killed my sworn brother. This is an irreconcilable grudge. Jian Ting gritted his teeth, and his face twisted. Although he wasn't as strong as Hui, it wouldn't be easy for Hui to hold him back. He had stopped because he was worried about Hui, but it was also because of his ancestor's soul. The bigger picture was more important. If he really killed this chaos whole immortal, who knew when the fifth demon would come? Even if it came, what if it was stronger? What if it was one of the top 10 experts of North Chan River? Jian Ting had a mature temperament and shrewdness to be able to become an advanced Black Region master. He had to endure. No matter what, he had to endure. Since I can't kill him now, I'll let him live for a while longer. Humph. The antenna on Jian Ting's forehead was extremely demonic, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. I'll take revenge for my sworn brother after I fuse with the ancestor's soul. So, Jian Ting flew up the Qian God Mountain. Strange, why is there no end? Is the Qian God Mountain that high? Also, why can't I find any consciousness doppelgangers? Jian Ting's brows were tightly furrowed. He did not understand. The same problem happened to Lin Wu and Hui. The two advanced Black Region masters were also confused. They searched around like headless flies, but they couldn't find any consciousness doppelgangers. They clearly saw consciousness doppelgangers land on the Qian God Mountain. The Qian God Mountain was only so big. What's going on? Come out. Come out now. Lin Wu was impatient and kept shouting. He was also worried that his soul fragments weren't as good as the other demons of Chan River, so he was very anxious. Damn it, you bastard. Lin Wu was furious and attacked randomly, but it was just a waste of energy. There's something wrong with this Qian God Mountain. The taciturn Hui wasn't just the most shrewd, he was also the strongest. In North Chan River, the strongest were the three strongest, followed by the top 10 experts of North Chan River. Below the top 10 experts of the North Chan River, the expert closest to them was the name of Ho. North Chan River's top 100 experts. There wasn't a ranking, just a publicly recognized strength and status. What a powerful law of Yin. Huey's eyes flashed. Is it related to consciousness doppelgangers? At this moment, Lin Feng had also set foot on Qianshan Mountain. Compared to the anxiety of the other demons of Chan River, Lin Feng's expression was calm and composed. He did not feel like he was competing at all. He leisurely wandered around the Qianshan Mountain and looked around. Because to him, the outcome of this battle was inconsequential. Moreover, being anxious would only make things worse. There is indeed something wrong with these 16 consciousness clones. Lin Feng thought to himself. Although he was neither too fast nor too slow, his search wasn't slow either. But until now, let alone seeing the consciousness avatar, he hadn't even sensed the slightest bit of its aura. So, the key is to search. Let's finish touring the entire Qianshan Mountain first. Lin Feng calculated in his mind. The consciousness doppelganger must be on the Qianshan Mountain. The answer was actually very simple. If it wasn't the consciousness doppelganger, then there was a problem with the Qianshan Mountain. According to the Qian family, Qianshan Mountain is the birthplace of ancestor Qianshan, the life source of the Qianli clan. Perhaps this is the key. Lin Feng explored the entire Qianshan Mountain as he searched. The tricolored poisonous fog might be fatal to the Qianli clan, but to him, Feng Zhe, and the other three demons of Chan River, besides blinding their vision, it would only consume a little energy at most. It was nothing. Memorizing the route, Lin Feng circled around the Qianshan Mountain and walked up the circular staircase. This was a waste of time, but it was like a foolish old man moving a mountain. Although it was slow, it could prevent mistakes. The Qianshan Mountain is very mysterious. Lin Feng traveled at a moderate pace for more than 10 days before he reached the halfway point of the mountain. He looked up and saw the tricolored poisonous fog, but he still couldn't see the top. But by the time he reached the halfway point, he had already traveled more than half the distance. After all, the Qianshan Mountain was divided into two halves. The lower half would definitely be much larger. However, after walking for so long, he still hadn't seen a single consciousness doppelganger. It was as if it was invisible and couldn't be seen at all. How do I find it? Lin Feng still had no clue. He would think about it after he reached the top. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry as he continued to speed forward. After another 5 days, he finally reached the top of the Qianshan Mountain. Although the top of the mountain looked ordinary and he still didn't discover anything, he found a unique characteristic of the Qianshan Mountain. A crucial characteristic. Not every part of the Qianshan Mountain was the same. The foot of the mountain, the middle of the mountain, and the top of the mountain all had different auras. If one treated the Qianshan Mountain as an independent flat space, there would be many different cultivation treasures in this space. The laws of Yin. It must be related to the laws of Yin. Lin Feng thought to himself. After all, the ancestor of the Qianli clan cultivated the laws of Yin. The Yin energy in the Qianshan Mountain was relatively strong. The laws of Yin in different areas were slightly different. However, Meng Chuan didn't cultivate the laws of Yin, so he couldn't sense the true difference. The disadvantage is huge. Lin Feng sighed. He might be the first to discover the mystery, but even if he did, he wouldn't be able to solve it. The other demons of Chan River cultivated the laws of Yin, so they could achieve twice the results with half the effort. Is it the comprehension of the laws? Or is it some kind of secret technique or power of the laws? Lin Feng frowned. I can only obtain the soul fragment after I learn it. The possibility was high, but there was no way to verify it. Lin Feng exhaled lightly. He sat cross-legged on the top of the mountain and pondered. This was a difficult problem for him. I can help Yuan Zhe with all my strength and let him cultivate. I can complete the mission as soon as possible, collect all the soul fragments, and leave this place. Lin Feng thought to himself, let's talk about it later. It's not easy to find him. Lin Feng rejected the idea. The Qianshan Mountain was bigger than he expected. Furthermore, his guess might not be accurate. Maybe there was another method. Let's go down the mountain again, Lin Feng said. The foolish old man moved the mountain as he thought. As he wasn't 100% sure, he wasn't in a hurry to make a decision. This time, Lin Feng spent half a month to return to the starting point. Because it was his second time, he sped up. He didn't meet Yuan Zhe along the way, but he met Yuan Zhe. They greeted each other and left. After all, they didn't have much of a relationship. Now that everyone was competing fairly, it could be said that no discord led to friendship. I didn't calculate wrongly. The entire Qianshan Mountain really has 16 cultivation grounds. Lin Feng was very sure this time. After finding the direction and confirming it, all that was left was to solve it. Lin Feng smiled and left the foot of the mountain. After half a month of consideration, he had a new idea. If he could do it, why would he help Yuan Zhe? Ancestor Qian Ming is smart. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Chapter 1554. I was right, Ji muttered. Ji landed near the peak of Qian God Mountain and sat down cross-legged. 16 soul fragments and 16 areas with the law of Yin. It's impossible to get all of them. In terms of aptitude and comprehension of the law of Yin, I don't have an absolute advantage. Lin Wu and Jian Ting are both quite strong. Damn it, it would be better if we were talking about combat power. Ji sighed with a serious expression. He forcefully calmed himself down and focused on cultivating. He still had a certain advantage. At least he was an advanced Black Region master and could comprehend the immortal chaos whole much faster. Lin Wu has a bad temper. He won't be able to discover the secret of this place so quickly. As for Jian Ting, he is blinded by hatred. He won't be able to discover it for a while. Hurry up. Our chances of winning are still high. Ji's eyes glowed. This damned place. Ancestral souls. Soul fragments? It's all *T. Are you messing with me? Lin Wu's veins were bulging as he roared hysterically. His temperament was irritable to begin with, and after more than a month of searching, he hadn't even found half a consciousness clone, which had long since worn out the little bit of patience he had left. Damn it! Let me out! What kind of place is this? I don't want to stay here. Did you hear me? Lin Wu roared. He had completely lost his mind. Compared to Lin Wu, Jian Ting was much better. However, he was still confused as he searched around. He wasn't smart to begin with. Now that his sworn brother was killed, he couldn't concentrate. Lin Feng's figure appeared in his mind. He was filled with hatred and killing intent. Damn it! Jianting gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. His body trembled. As for Ji, he was the first one to discover the secret of the Qian River demon race. He also cultivated the law of Yin and occupied a spot earlier than Ji to comprehend the law of Yin. However, he was the one with the lowest chance of winning. An immortal chaos hole was an immortal chaos hole after all. Even if his Yin aptitude wasn't inferior to Ji's, the difference in life form couldn't be overcome. His comprehension speed wasn't fast. Lin Feng left the Qianshan Mountain. After coming down from the foot of the mountain, he glanced at the Qianshan Mountain and memorized its location. It was not difficult to find. After coming here once, he had more or less memorized it. Even if he forgot, he would be able to find it quickly. Lin Feng knew himself well. With his Yin talent, he was not strong enough to fight against the other Forchan River Yao. Even Yin Zhe, who was the slowest to comprehend, was stronger than him. After all, he had never cultivated the Tao of Yin. However, this game wasn't about who could cultivate and comprehend the Tao of Yin faster. Instead, it was about who could obtain more soul fragments. There was a clear difference between the two. Huh! Lin Feng glanced back and smiled. His figure disappeared in a flash. Qian Hui's alternate dimension wasn't small, but it wasn't big either. With his speed and a clear direction, he soon found one of the Qianshou tribes. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He did not stop and left immediately. The second, the third, the fourth, the Qianshou tribe had many tribes scattered around this area. However, due to ancestor Qianshou's limited strength, the upper limit of the Qianshou tribe was not high. Most of them were chaos holes. Only a few could become black domain masters. The ratio was quite low. However, there were many Qianshou tribe members. Since the ratio was low, they could use numbers to make up for it. Lin Feng searched through dozens of tribes and finally found a suitable candidate. Intermediate Black Domain Master, Qian Dachuan. You want to bring me to the sacred land? Qian Dachuo asked in disbelief. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. Qian Dachuan looked at Lin Feng suspiciously. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He snorted. Why should I believe you? Lin Feng smiled. You don't have to believe me. Pung. Its body moved as it wished, shooting out like an arrow from a bow. Its sharp claws swung out without hesitation, heading straight for Qian Dachuan. Qian Dachuan was shocked, revealing a look of panic. Then, he became furious. How dare you? He was a supreme expert of the Qianshou tribe. He had never been afraid of anyone. A mere chaos hole, immortal dared to be so arrogant in front of him. He was courting death. Pung. Qian Dachuan fell heavily to the ground. His eyes were filled with shock. He looked at Lin Feng as if he was looking at a devil. His lips turned purple. Who are you? Where did you come from? Lin Feng smiled. That's not important. Soon, Lin Feng set off again. However, he was not alone. Behind him was Qian Dachuan, who looked depressed and listless. He looked as if he had nothing to live for. Where are we going next? Lin Feng asked. This way. Qian Dachuan glanced and pointed. Lin Feng nodded and went in the direction Qian Dachuan pointed. He was too lazy to explain and did not want to. Even if he explained clearly, Qian Dachuan might not believe him. Since that was the case, he might as well be direct. He would just capture them. Everything would be clear when he reached Qian God Mountain. Hate him? At that time, they would be grateful. With Qian Dachuan as the first, things were much simpler. Although the speed was much slower, there were no obstructions along the way. He did not have to waste time looking for the wrong path. Overall, his speed was much faster. Qian Shu, Qian Yuji, Qian Ling, one by one, the Black Region Masters were taken away by Lin Feng. They were all the same as Qian Dachuan. Beat them down first. The fist was the absolute truth. Some of the Black Region Masters resisted fiercely and would rather die than submit. Some were skeptical and still had hope. Most of them had no choice but to obey. The Qian Dachuan clan's experts did not have strong fighting hearts. They did not feel anything when they were captured. Just like that, Lin Feng walked around again. He returned to Qian God Mountain again. He was familiar with the place, but he did not come back alone. Instead, he brought back 16 Qian Dachuan clan experts. Every one of them was a Black Region Master. Although most of them were intermediate Black Region Masters, there were 2 advanced Black Region Masters. In the Qian Dachuan space, this was the limit. Because there were only 3 advanced Black Region Masters, Lin Feng brought back 2 and did not find the last one. There was no need to strive for perfection. Time was the key. Do you believe me now? Lin Feng asked with a smile. The eyes of the Black Region Masters lit up as they nodded at Lin Feng. They were extremely grateful. This was the Holy Land, the forbidden land that they dreamed of entering. Now, they were standing on the soil of the Holy Land. What an honor. Lin Feng clapped his hands and said, "All right, let's take what we need. Get ready. Do as I said." Understood. All the masters of the Dark Region nodded in unison. Understood. They were all excited. Chapter 1555. What was the plan? Lin Feng did not cultivate the law of Yin, but what was this place? Ancestor Qian Hui's alternate space. The life forms here all had the blood of Ancestor Qian Hui. Even the air here was filled with the law of Yin. They were born in this environment and had a deep understanding of the law of Yin. He could not comprehend the law of Yin, but the members of the Qian Hui race could. Moreover, they were in a favorable position. After all, they were a part of Ancestor Qian Xiong. They were like seeds. Their souls and cells were closely connected to Ancestor Qian Xiong. Some of the 16 Qian Hui race masters of Black Region might not be able to complete the mission, but it would be enough if half or even a small portion could complete the mission. Lin Feng was very busy as he made arrangements for them. Ancestor Qian Hui was very smart. As the saying went, one should not give the goodies to outsiders. His consciousness avatar would naturally be obtained by members of his bloodline. Lin Feng did not care. He had never thought of obtaining the ancestor's soul. Even if he did, he would find an ancestor who cultivated the great Tao of Earth or even the great Tao of Darkness. He just wanted to leave as soon as possible. Let's see when they discover it. When he returned this time, Lin Feng discovered that the 4 of them had already squatted in one of the cultivation grounds to comprehend and cultivate. Lin Feng didn't touch any of the 4 cultivation grounds. As the saying went, building one path on the surface, but secretly crossing the Chun Song. Using the Qian Shui race was a little tricky. It would be best if the other Chan River monster races did not find out. Even if they did, it would be too late. Time passed slowly. As he cultivated, time passed even faster. The first soul fragment was obtained by Ancestor Qian Hui. Before Lin Feng returned, he had already obtained one. Now, he was obtaining the second. Although Ancestor Qian Zhe had more time to comprehend and discovered the key earlier than Ancestor Qian, he was only an immortal chaos hole. His efficiency was much slower. Jian Ting discovered it late, even later than Lin Wu. However, Jian Ting discovered it himself. Lin Wu only discovered it when he saw Ancestor Qian Zhe. The first piece. Lin Feng looked at Qian Dachuan and nodded with a smile. Although he was only an intermediate Black Domain Master, his comprehension speed was much faster than the 2 advanced Black Domain Masters. Perhaps it was because he was young, but his aptitude was obviously very good. "Thank you," Qian Dachuan said gratefully. According to their previous agreement, he gave the soul fragment to Lin Feng because it wasn't very useful. Qian Dachuan was already dreaming of being able to comprehend a part of Ancestor Qian Hui's law of Yin. He no longer hoped for anything. Looking at the Qianshan mountain with nostalgia, Qian Dachuan knew that he didn't know when he would be able to enter again. Perhaps it would be the day he became a high-level Black Domain Master, or perhaps he would never be able to enter again. "What's wrong? Aren't you going to comprehend the laws?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. Qian Dachuan suddenly turned his head and stared at Lin Feng with wide eyes. "What did you just say?" "Continue to comprehend the laws of Yin," Lin Feng said, stunned. "I can still continue to comprehend." Qian Dachuan's eyes were shining, and his breathing became rapid. "Of course. It seems that no one stopped you?" Lin Feng spread his hands. Qian Dachuan smiled embarrassedly. "I thought it was because every clansman received one." Lin Feng smiled and said, "I didn't say that." Qian Dachuan was very excited and nodded repeatedly. Thank you so much." Qian Dachuan was incoherent and very excited. He didn't want to stop for a moment and rush to other areas of the Qianshan Mountain. Looking at the departing figure, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. To him, it didn't matter who comprehended the laws of Yin. The key was to obtain the soul fragment. The third fragment, the fourth fragment, the fifth fragment. Lin Feng's collecting speed was very fast. Including the one he had obtained a total of 5 soul fragments. As long as he obtained one more, he would pass the standard. The fact proved that the Qian Hui clansman's comprehension speed was not only not slow, but even faster than Hui and the others. Perhaps it was because they were born and raised here, or maybe it was because of their blood and seeds. Aren't they the Qian Hui clansmen? Lin Wu was confused. While he had a bad temper, his comprehension wasn't bad. After Hui, he had obtained his first soul fragment and then searched for his second. He didn't expect to see the Qian Hui clansmen leaving. The Qianshan Mountain is really unguarded. Even cats and dogs can enter, Lin Wu snorted. The Qian Hui clansmen called this place a holy land. Many experts would come from afar to find the Qianshan Mountain and worship their ancestors. Therefore, he wasn't surprised to see Lin Wu here. They left? Seems like they gave up. Lin Wu looked at the Qian Hui clansman's back and smiled disdainfully. He didn't even look at them. He walked in, sat down cross-legged, and started to comprehend. After Lin Wu, Jian Ting quickly obtained his first soul fragment. This was very important to him. It proved that his previous guess and method were correct. Jian Ting also saw a Qian Hui clansman pass by. Looking not far away, Jian Ting nodded thoughtfully. These low life forms are pitifully weak. Jian Ting sneered and began to cultivate. Just like Lin Wu, Jian Ting didn't suspect much, but he didn't know that there was a pair of hands behind the scenes. The 16 Qian Hui clansmen were scattered all over the Qianshan Mountain. Lin Feng had warned them that if they encountered other Qian River Yao, they had to run, and they had to run quickly. This was to buy time. Lin Feng knew that if he was discovered, he would attract a lot of trouble. To say nothing else, these Qian Hui clansmen would be killed. Hui, Lin Wu, and Jian Ting were all strong. Unlike him, the Qian Hui clansmen didn't have soul fragments, so it was fine to kill them. But if they left now and didn't fight for the soul fragments, Jian Ting and the other two wouldn't kill them. These clansmen were part of the Qian Hui ancestors, who knew what the consequences would be if they killed them, so it was best to avoid it. The 6th soul fragment. Lin Feng accepted it satisfactorily. The 16 Black Region masters comprehended it at the same time. Good news came one after another. There were a total of 21 soul fragments. With 5 Qian River Yao clansmen, 6 was enough to make them invincible. If there were 7, it would be even better. If there were 8, victory would be assured. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he looked into the distance. Paper couldn't wrap fire. His method was good, but it wasn't without flaws. As long as one was careful, there was a high chance of being tracked down. This was the case right now. Chapter 1556. It was none other than Bai. Bai, who had just obtained his second soul fragment, walked toward Lin Feng with a complicated expression. He was about to obtain his third soul fragment when he bumped into the expert of the Qianfu race who was running away in a panic. Lin Wu and Jian Ting were not careful enough, but Bai was more experienced and shrewd than them. Bai followed the expert of the Qianfu race all the way, and before he could solve his doubts, he bumped into another expert of the Qianfu race. The first time might be a coincidence, but what about the second time? So what if it was the third time? Bai followed the clues and finally found the mastermind. It seems like we have underestimated you. Bai sighed and looked at Lin Feng with a complicated expression. You are not strong, but you must be good to be able to make it this far. Lin Feng looked calm. He knew what Bai was talking about, and there was no need to explain. More than half of the soul fragments I have obtained have been taken. I think. Bai looked at Lin Feng, and his eyes flashed. You have at least 6 soul fragments with you, right? Lin Feng was about to say something when Bai interrupted him. Don't deny it. I will not believe you no matter what you say. Lin Feng smiled. I don't intend to deny it. In fact, he did have 6 soul fragments. You stopped and looked at Lin Feng from afar. His face was gloomy and uncertain, and a malicious aura spread out from his body. The aura was dense, and it was like a devil opening his eyes. "Hand over the soul fragments, and I will spare your life," Bai said coldly. Lin Feng said softly, "If you kill me, you will not be able to merge with the ancestor's soul even if you have all the soul fragments." Bai smiled coldly. "Why do I have to kill you if I want to take your soul fragments? Then what are you waiting for?" Lin Feng smiled. Bai's expression darkened. "If we can resolve this peacefully, I do not want to be your enemy. Don't worry, I'm not Jianting. As long as you hand over the soul fragments, not only will I not kill you, I will even protect you." Lin Feng laughed and said, "You're afraid that I'll break up and destroy both jade and common stone." Bai stared at Lin Feng and said in a low voice, "If you insist on doing this, it won't do you any good." Lin Feng shrugged. He gritted his teeth, his face extremely ugly. "Have you thought it through? What, you want to fight?" Lin Feng smiled calmly. You suddenly burst into laughter, his eyes revealing an ominous glint. "Since I can't get the ancestor's soul, why should I let you benefit from it? If I kill you, at least I'll feel a bit better. If you can take me down with you, why can't I do the same?" There was a threat in his words, but he did not make a move. For his part, he was still holding on to a glimmer of hope. He didn't want to make a move unless absolutely necessary. But then let's go our separate ways. Before Ho even made a move, Lin Feng had already taken the initiative and attacked. The surging laws of Earth violently shook, and Lin Feng's fighting spirit instantly soared. Since today's matter was difficult to resolve, it was better to be straightforward and straightforward. What? He was somewhat stunned. He didn't expect that the chaotic whole immortal he treated as prey would make the first move before he even made a move. A mere chaotic whole immortal was actually so daring. He was a high-level black domain master. You're courting death." You gritted his teeth, incomparably furious. Lin Feng's actions were like plucking the whiskers of a tiger's face, making him lose all face. His body shook violently, and the rich and exquisite laws of Yin suddenly appeared. Facing Lin Feng's attack, you didn't even try to dodge and directly faced it head-on. Amir Jr. was avoiding him. He wasn't worthy. Punk. As soon as they exchanged blows, you gained the absolute upper hand and directly repelled Lin Feng. With a roar, you raised his head and chased after him. But he didn't see that Lin Feng, who had been repelled by him, had already stood still in an instant. His body was deathly white, and it was difficult to distinguish what was real and what was false. It was illusory and blurry, and his strength shockingly spread out. There was no blade in his hand, but his body was like a blade. A blade in the void suddenly appeared and condensed in the air. It seemed to be there, but it also seemed to be there, turning into a silent silence. Deliberately mystifying. You coldly snorted, not caring at all. He had absolute confidence in his own strength. Moreover, he clearly knew the upper limit of the chaos whole strength. No matter how strong he was, how could he be stronger than a high-level black domain master? What a joke. Suddenly, Yu's expression changed. He felt that the surrounding space had completely changed and distorted. A deathly white shrouded him, and the blade in the void reflected his pale face, revealing its magnificence. Boom! This power! Yu's arm went numb, and his whole body trembled violently. In an instant, an intense pain attacked his heart. He looked at the chaos hole in front of him with a horrified expression. The power that erupted from it was terrifying. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng's blade was like the Wolf King revealing its sharp fangs. Boundary Supreme Blade Technique, Silent White. The situation was instantly reversed. Or perhaps this was a normal situation to begin with. Although Yu's strength was strong, there was still a gap between him and Lin Feng. The current Lin Feng could even compete with the top 10 experts of the North Chan River if he went all out. Compared to you, he was much stronger. Yu fell heavily to the ground, his body covered in blood. He looked at Lin Feng in horror, his pale lips trembling. He had never imagined that the chaos hole in front of him would have such terrifying strength that it was completely above his. His voice was sad and weak. Yu's breathing was extremely rapid as he hissed. "Even if you kill me, You won't be able to obtain the ancestor's soul. Lin Feng's eyes were cold, and the corner of his mouth curved up. You're wrong. From the beginning to the end, I have never been interested in the ancestor's soul. Shua. Lin Feng's sharp claws were like blades as he killed you. Being merciful to one's enemy was being cruel to oneself. Lin Feng knew this principle very well. So what if he could not form the ancestor's soul with one less soul fragment? He would do what he had to do. He would not let an enemy off because of this. As expected, the soul fragment on the back of Yu's hand gradually dimmed, as though it was disappearing with you. Just as Lin Feng was about to leave, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart and laughed involuntarily. The originally ordinary region was now different. The unique law of Yin had sprouted in this region, becoming the 17th place to cultivate the law of Yin on the divine Qian Mountain. What a deliberate mystique. Lin Feng sighed. Ancestor Qian Ming had misled all the demons of the Chan River, including himself. At the peak of the divine Qian Mountain, Jian Ting was excitedly and nervously comprehending the law of Yin. He was only one step away from comprehending the law of Yin and obtaining the second soul fragment. My speed is definitely faster than Lin Wu's, Jian Ting thought to himself. My only opponent is you. Jian Ting snorted as Lin Feng's face appeared in his mind again. Jian Ting's killing intent was cold. This guy, I can't let him escape, Jian Ting thought to himself. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. He stood up abruptly and turned around. His eyes widened as he saw Lin Feng striding toward him. Jian Ting's intuition told him that trouble was coming. Chapter 1557. Lin Feng looked at Jian Ting and said flatly, I am here to kill you. What? Jian Ting was stunned. He did not understand what Lin Feng meant. Lin Feng pointed at the petal-like soul fragment on the back of his hand and said, In St. Qian Mountain, you can kill your opponent. The soul fragment on his body will turn into a consciousness clone. You only need to comprehend it to obtain it. Are you for real? Jian Ting's eyes lit up. Suddenly, wait. Jian Ting looked at Lin Feng suspiciously and asked cautiously, Why are you telling me this? Jian Ting squinted his eyes and said coldly, Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? Lin Feng smiled and said, From the beginning, I have already told you my purpose. Jian Ting was stunned. He suddenly remembered and looked at Lin Feng in shock. I am here to kill you. This was what Lin Feng had said at the beginning. Just you. Jian Ting burst out laughing as if he had heard a joke. However, he stopped laughing in an instant as his heart sank. Lin Feng's aura had changed drastically, and Jian Ting was completely suppressed by the oppressive might of Lin Feng. In the void, a war saber shone with divine power. It was like the embodiment of the heavens. Yes, just me, Lin Feng said. I forgot to tell you that before you came, I had already killed Jian Ting. What? Jian Ting did not know how to react. Jian Ting naturally knew that Jian Ting was much stronger than him. No, it must be fake. Jian Ting roared. I will not believe you. Don't try to influence me. With that, Jian Ting's combat power exploded. However, he was unable to resist Lin Feng's terrifying saber skills. This time around, Lin Feng only spent a short amount of time to kill Jian Ting. Although Jian Ting was not a big threat, leaving an enemy who hated him was like a thorn in his side. Since he had already done it, he would do it to the end. Lin Feng showed no mercy and killed Jian Ting. As for Lin Wu, Lin Feng did not intend to kill him. Although they were neither enemies nor friends. As the saying goes, if others do not offend me, I will not offend them. If Lin Wu wanted to kill him, he would not let him off. As for Qi Zhe, needless to say, Lin Feng arranged for the experts of the Qianhua race to start comprehending the soul shards. This time, he didn't need to hide anything. He started right away. Even if he was discovered, it didn't matter. The 7th, 8th, 9th, when he obtained the 12th piece, one of the experts from the Qianlai race was killed by Lin Wu. Lin Wu's temper was irascible, and he couldn't care less. With his strength as a high-level dark domain master, it was more than enough for him to kill an expert from the Qianlai race. But there was only one. Lin Feng quickly got rid of Lin Wu and eliminated the last of the trouble. Pieces of soul fragments fell into his hands. To him, the ancestral souls here were already in his pocket. As expected, when the last soul fragment fell into his hands, 21 beams of light shot up into the sky. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he watched the face in the air condense once again. That face contained a tyrannical aura. Ancestor Qianming's strength was majestic and powerful. See, a crack appeared in the sky and was forcefully torn apart. As if the sky had opened its eyes, a door of light appeared and landed on the Qianlai mountain. Lin Feng was surprised as a light flashed past. This should be the exit. Lin Feng was shocked. Shua! In an instant, a pillar of light shot down from the Qianlai mountain and enveloped Lin Feng. It was as fast as lightning and impossible to dodge. A majestic Yin aura, a strong and profound power, and a unique aura of the Qianlai River. Lin Feng felt as if he was in an illusion. His body was enveloped by a strange power, and a transparent object appeared in front of him. It contained the power of the Qianlai ancestor. It was like a piece of crystal with an icy core that could be broken by the wind. So this is the spirit of our ancestor. Lin Feng grabbed it in his hand, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Congratulations, Brother Tang. Moze looked at Lin Feng with envy. He originally thought that it would be a battle between Qianlai and Qianlai. Whoever was lucky and could comprehend it faster would be able to obtain the ancestor's soul. He didn't expect Lin Feng to appear out of nowhere. He didn't know any Yin laws, but he still won the ancestor's soul. I was lucky, Lin Feng said humbly. Moze smiled and said, Brother Tang Feng, you are too humble. I have seen your intelligence. To be able to win the ancestor's soul without shedding a drop of blood, you are definitely not an ordinary member of the Qianlai River Demon race. Moze is impressed. Moze's eyes were full of respect. He wasn't a petty person. If he could think of Lin Feng's method, the ancestor's soul would be his. Unfortunately, he didn't think in that direction and missed the opportunity. All right, Brother Lin, did you see Qianlai and the others? Moze looked around and asked in confusion. They left, Lin Feng said casually. Yuanze let out a soft nodded and smiled. They must be angry that Brother Tang Feng got there first. Yeah, Lin Feng said with a smile. Moze pointed at the white light on Lin Feng's body and said, What is this, Brother Tang Feng? Chi. Before they could react, Lin Feng had started the slaughter. Killing King Qianlai was just the beginning. Now that the Qianlai River Demon race of the Hero territory had no leader, he killed to his heart's content. He originally planned on returning the favor to Tang Xin territory, whether or not it was related to Tang Luan. After all, it was the 7th princess territory. Since he saw it, he would help if he could. No matter what, the White Wolf tribe was still living in Tang Xin territory because of the favor of others. It was like giving face to the Buddha. Boom, pong, rumble. Lin Feng's attacks were like a hot knife through butter. Wherever he attacked, there were no survivors. The Qianlai River Demon race members cried out, but it was useless. Everyone, kill him together. Don't run. There were still many Qianlai River Demon race members in the Hero territory who were unafraid of death and wanted to attack. However, even more of them understood the difference in strength. Even King Qianlai was easily killed. They would only be sending themselves to death. Lin Feng continuously attacked and killed. The asp Qilin saber in his hand that had just been unsheathed was stained with blood. However, Lin Feng's expression was incomparably calm. Killing the Qilin King had taken him quite a bit of effort, but to kill these beginner and intermediate Black Domain masters, it was just a warm-up. The difference in strength was too big. Escape. Lin Feng's lips curled. In an instant, he used Great Void Transference. He didn't want to kill all of the Qianlai River Demon race in the Hero territory, but this time, he wanted to give them an unforgettable memory. Before he left Tang Xin territory, he would firmly suppress the Hero territory. Kill. Even if he didn't use his Dark Devil power, it didn't mean that he didn't want to kill. In the next few days, Lin Feng went all out to kill the Qianlai River Demon race in the Hero territory. He killed everyone he saw turning the entire border region into a bloody hell. The hero territory suffered heavy casualties. This time was different from before. Lin Feng's killing had a purpose. He wouldn't let any of the Qianlai River Demon race in the hero territory go. Chapter 1558. Lin Feng wasn't interested in the ancestor's soul. He had gotten his hands on Ancestor Qian Hui's soul partly due to luck. Although he could enter the fourth trial with this ancestor's soul, such a challenge was too weak and meaningless. A faint light floated around his body, as if isolating him from the outside world. This was a mark, or rather, a mark. It meant that he could pass the third trial, but it also meant that he couldn't obtain another ancestor's soul. Lin Feng knew this very well. Therefore, if Yuan Shi'ai's could afford it, he didn't mind giving him the ancestor's soul. All right. Yuan Shi'ai's eyes lit up as he laughed heartily. He knew very well that, given his strength, the chances of him obtaining another ancestor's soul alone were very slim. Although he would probably only make up the numbers if he entered the fourth trial, Yuan Shi'ai's still wanted to give it a try. No matter how slim the chances were, at least there was still a chance. Brother Tang Feng, do you want? Yuan Shi'ai's probed. A peak chaos hole, profound treasure. Lin Feng didn't hesitate. What he wanted was the highest grade chaos hole, profound treasure. He had quite a few chaos hole, profound treasures on him. Some had been purchased from the Origin Pearl Star in the ancient Myriad World Mystic Realm, while others had been snatched from the Winged Man tribe. However, most of them were just ordinary chaos hole, profound treasures. Peak chaos hole, profound treasures were rare items no matter where they were. With the Tyrant Dragon clone's current strength, he could unleash the power of a peak chaos hole, profound treasure. However, he didn't have a suitable peak Earth-type chaos hole, profound treasure. Yuan Shi'ai's hesitated. He hadn't expected Lin Feng to offer such a high price. Even though he had a noble status, a peak chaos hole, profound treasure was still very rare to him. He looked at Lin Feng, who looked calm and indifferent. Yuan Shi'ai's knew that if he missed this opportunity, it would be even more impossible for him to buy another ancestor's soul from the other Chan River demons. For the position of King of North Chan River, all the demons of Chan River were doing their best. One couldn't trap a wolf without risking one's child. All right. Yuan Shi'ai's nodded heavily and pursed his lips. Since Brother Tang Feng is so straightforward, I won't be wishy-washy. A light flashed in Yuan Zhe's hand as he took out a cloak that seemed to be made of mercury. It had a translucent luster and flashed with starlight. It was like mercury flowing down the ground and emitted a unique aura of power. Peak Earth-type chaos hole, profound treasure, mystic cloak. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. He could feel the rich aura of the earth. Although it wasn't completely compatible with the cloak, he could still feel the vigorous earth energy contained in the cloak. Although it wasn't of the earthquake element, it could definitely increase his combat power by a lot. A peak chaotic cavern mysterious treasure. Brother Yin Zhe is indeed straightforward. Lin Feng handed over the ancestor's soul. In a split second, the faint layer of light covering his body disappeared, and the ancestor's soul emitted a bright light that enveloped Feng Zhe. Lin Feng directly put on the mysterious cloak and disappeared in a split second. Oh, Lin Feng was moved. It couldn't be seen from the outside at all, although it hadn't recognized him as its master. The mysterious cloak had already displayed an extraordinary defense. There was an invisible layer of defense outside his body. If it attacked him, not only would it be weakened, but the mysterious cloak would also remove its power, making it as smooth as fish skin. If it could be completely compatible with the cloak, his defense would increase greatly. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clone's body was already quite outstanding. If it was upgraded to another level, there was no doubt that its combat power would increase. Lin Feng also knew that the Tung Chi continent was different from the Milky Way. On the Tung Chi continent, offensive treasures were much more valuable than defensive treasures. It could be said that the worst chaos hole, profound treasures on the Tung Chi continent were defensive treasures. It was the opposite of the Milky Way. However, this was the true value of chaos hole, profound treasures. Defensive treasures in the Milky Way were precious only because of their uniqueness, and not because they could increase one's combat power. However, no matter how bad it was still a peak chaos hole profound treasure. It was definitely not something a top-notch chaos hole profound treasure could compare to. We'll meet at the last checkpoint, Brother Tang Feng. Yinze looked at the mysterious Yin cloak with a pained expression and squeezed out a smile. Even if he was rich, a peak chaos hole profound treasure was enough to hurt him. However, there was only one chance to fight for the king of the North Chan River. If he missed it, he would miss it forever. As for peak chaos hole profound treasures, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Okay, Brother Yinze. Lin Feng bade farewell to Yinze. Lin Feng was not in a hurry when he was alone. It was still far away from the 10-year time limit. Less than 2 years had passed, so there were still 8 years left. If he wanted to obtain another ancestor's soul, he was completely capable of doing so. As he traveled through the ancestral hall, Lin Feng carefully observed his surroundings. There was no need to worry about his safety here. As long as he didn't touch the ancestral alternate space, there would be no danger. No demon from the Chan River would be able to attack him here. Out of the 108 statues, there are still 81 left. Lin Feng quickly walked through the area. Only 27 statues were dim and lightless. This was to be expected. There were very few people who could rely on their own ability to defeat the ancestral remnant avatars in the small crystal statues. Only the top 10 experts of the North Chan River and the 3 strongest experts could do so. It was also not easy to touch the large crystal statues and enter the ancestral alternate space to obtain the ancestral soul. Even if he could obtain it, time was a problem. The 10-year time limit was not set randomly. There are 2 paths now. First, I can use the small crystal statues to challenge them one by one. Second, I can use the large crystal statues to enter the alternate space and obtain it. Lin Feng muttered to himself. He had more or less made up his mind. To him, both paths were feasible. His strength was already close to the top 10 experts of the North Chan River, and with the addition of the Darking Cloak, he had the chance to obtain the ancestor's soul by continuously challenging the remnant consciousness of one of the ancestors. As for entering the alternate space again, this time, he could choose the Earth-type ancestral alternate space to increase his chances. Both paths have their pros and cons. Lin Feng thought to himself. If he chose the first path, the ancestral remnant avatars were strong. They would definitely be injured in every battle. Without any experience to help, his estimates might not be correct. They were, after all, existences at the level of the ancestral remnant avatars. If he chose the second path, the key was time. What was known was that every one of the 108 ancestral halls had 100% of the Chan River Demon Clan members entering them, splitting the number of Chan River Demon Clan members. Every ancestral alternate space had started the competition more than a year ago. If he entered now, his competitiveness would undoubtedly be much lower. Just like when he first entered ancestral Qian Hui's alternate space. If he entered now, even if he found a shortcut, he would not be faster than Hui and the others. This disadvantage could not be said to be small. Oh, Lin Feng fell in a deep thought. Here, the choice was very important. Then it's decided. Lin Feng thought for a while and quickly made a decision. Chapter 1559. The first method was good, but it lacked the challenge. To Lin Feng, the success rate of this method was still very high. Of the 108 ancestral halls, I believe that the experts who can challenge the ancestral halls have already advanced. The remaining 81 ancestral halls can only be obtained by entering the alternate space. Therefore, there is no need for me to rush. He estimated that at least 30 out of the 81 ancestral halls will be left by the end of the 10-year time limit. It was not that easy to obtain the ancestral souls of the alternate dimensions. For example, in the alternate dimension of Ancestor Qianhui, if he did not take a shortcut, it would take at least 5 years for the final victor to emerge. After all, he had to obtain all 16 soul fragments. It was very difficult to rely on the Chan River demon race alone. Take the second path. Lin Feng was very clear. It did not matter if he was slower than others. The key was the challenge. Entering an alternate dimension was more challenging. In addition, the choice of the alternate dimension was also very important. Cultivate the earth element. Take ancestor Qian Hui as an example. He was only considered below average among the 108 ancestors. However, the Chan River demon race who cultivated the law of Yin could obtain a lot of benefits after entering his alternate dimension. If not for him, Qi would probably have been the final victor. Lin Wu and Jian Ting would not have died. Each of them could comprehend 4 or 5 laws of Yin. It would greatly increase their strength. The alternate dimension did not only contain the ancestral souls. It could be helpful to one's strength, combat power, potential, cultivation level, etc. I have no chance of winning now that I have entered the 4th challenge. Lin Feng knew very well that he might not even be able to deal with the top 10 experts of North Chan River, let alone the top 3. Each of them was stronger than him. If he wanted to compete with them, the 3rd challenge would be his last chance. It was also the best chance. Ancestor Huiyun, Ancestor Big Stone, Ancestor Di Gui. The 3 ancestral halls appeared in Lin Feng's mind. They were the ones that left the deepest impression among the remaining 81 ancestral halls. Although there were other ancestors who cultivated the earth element, they were not as good as these 3. They were famous and powerful. Although each of the ancestors here was a super expert of their own era, the strength of each era was different. These 3 ancestors were the cream of the crop. Every single one of them had strength that was not inferior to the 3 strongest people in the world. In fact, he was even above them. Ancestor Wu Yun was proficient in 4 Daos of the earth. Ancestor Big Stone reached the pinnacle of perfection in the field of earthquakes. Ancestor Di Gui was proficient in 6 Daos of the great earth, surpassing perfection. In terms of strength, Ancestor Di Ui was undoubtedly the strongest. The Black Domain Master was the same as the Immortal Chaos Hole. There were 4 levels to the Black Domain Master advancement: Threshold, Ordinary, Pinnacle, and Extreme. The threshold for becoming a Dark Domain Master was the strength of the 10 great experts of the North Chan River. Lin Feng's current strength was comparable to that of a high-level Dark Domain Master, but he was still a bit away from reaching the threshold. Above the threshold was an ordinary Black Domain Master, the 3 strongest of the North Chan River's 10 great experts, and the Violet Electric of the North Chan River's 3 great experts. Above that was the Pinnacle. Aurora and King Yinwang of the North Chan River's 3 great masters were at this level. Above that was the pinnacle of the Black Domain Master advancement. Ancestor Wu Yun cultivated too many things. Although he had 4 Daos of the earth at the pinnacle of perfection, he was inferior to Ancestor Big Stone, who had 2 Daos of the earth at the pinnacle of perfection. Lin Feng first eliminated Ancestor Wu Yun. Although Ancestor Wu Yun had grasped 4 Daos of the earth, he hadn't grasped the Earthquake Dao. As far as he was concerned, there was no advantage for him to enter. On the contrary, although Ancestor Big Stone had grasped 2 Daos of the earth, one was the Earthquake Dao, while the other was the Defense Dao. Lin Feng had an advantage in grasping the Earthquake Dao, but he could also try grasping the Defense Dao. Both of them were the pinnacle of the Black Domain Master advancement. Ancestor Di Gui was proficient in many things, and his realm surpassed perfection. Although he hadn't reached perfection, he had grasped 6 Daos of the earth. Therefore, his strength reached the pinnacle of the Black Domain Master advancement. Ancestor Di Gui's strength was above the North Chan River's 3 great experts. However, Ancestor Big Stone might be more suitable for me. Lin Feng nodded. Grasping more Daos didn't mean they were useful. Grasping less Daos didn't mean they weren't good. On the contrary, they might be more proficient. In his opinion, although Ancestor Wu Yun was weaker than Ancestor Di Gui, his Earthquake Dao and Defense Dao might not be weaker than Ancestor Di Gui. In fact, they might even be stronger. Moreover, Ancestor Di Gui grasped all the Daos of the earth. His range of application is too wide. Lin Feng pondered. In other words, all the Chan River monsters that cultivated the Dao of the earth could choose to enter Ancestor Di Gui's alternate dimension. There were many monsters in Chan River, and the competition was fierce. He wasn't afraid of competition, but time was too tight. Based on what he had obtained from the Ancestor's soul, the possibility of entering Ancestor Big Stone's alternate dimension was higher. While thinking, Lin Feng quickly found Ancestor Big Stone's hall. Looking at the huge statue of the Ancestor, Lin Feng's eyes shone. Although it wasn't his first time here, it was his first time observing it so carefully, because he was about to enter its alternate dimension. After experiencing Ancestor Qianming's alternate dimension, Lin Feng understood one thing. The character of the Ancestor was very important. Ancestor Qianming was too cunning. The Ancestor Big Stone in front of him looked very honest and gave off a steady feeling. It was just like how he cultivated only two Daos of the earth. Earthquake, defense, focus, strength, steady as a rock. Just looking at it isn't enough. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and touched the crystal statue. Instantly, it shone brightly. Lin Feng's consciousness wavered, and he entered a world where it was difficult to distinguish reality from illusion. Light gathered in front of him and gradually formed the appearance of a giant stone monster. It was 99% similar to the statue. Ancestor Big Stone. Bang! Lin Feng fell behind, his face pale. He landed heavily on the wall of the hall. Lin Feng chuckled and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He forced himself to sit up and looked at Ancestor Big Stone. He couldn't help but smile. So this is the perfect Tao of earthquake. So this is the strength of a peak master of the Black Domain. Amazing. Lin Feng sighed. Only after fighting did he know how strong Ancestor Big Stone was. Only then did he know if Ancestor Big Stone was as strong as he had seen with his own eyes. Although the price he paid was high, it was worth it. It's him. Lin Feng took out a fruit of heaven and earth and ate it to recover. He closed his eyes and made up his mind. 3 days later, Lin Feng, who had finished healing, opened his eyes. They shone brightly as he strode in front of the statue. He looked deeply at the statue of Ancestor Dashi and then reached out his hand to touch the statue's crystal. He entered the alternate dimension again. Chapter 1560. Ancestor Dashi's alternate space. I can't get out of this damned place. It was a strange monster covered in a black, sharp carapace. He looked like a hedgehog wearing armor. His entire body was impenetrable, and his aura was completely hidden within the carapace. He gave off a terrifying aura. He was one of the top 10 experts of North Chan River, Black Bug. As one of the 10 great experts of the Northern Chan River, Black Bug specialized in the Tao of the Earth, especially in the Tao of Defense. Although his battle prowess was at the bottom of the 10 great experts of the Northern Chan River, his defensive prowess was top-notch. Even the other 10 great experts would find it difficult to defeat him. With his strength, he could have used the small crystal statue to defeat the remnant of the Ancestor's consciousness and pass the third test. However, he had chosen to touch the large crystal statue. After entering the alternate space, it was too late for regrets, because he couldn't get out. Here, he could either obtain the Ancestor's soul or let the other Chan River demons obtain the Ancestor's soul before leaving. There was no other choice. I shouldn't have killed them. Black Bug gritted his teeth, regretting his actions. He had thought that it would be simple. He just needed to kill all his competitors and obtain the Ancestor's soul. However, it was the opposite. The more Chan River demons there were, the easier it would be to complete this test. If he was alone, the efficiency would be extremely slow. Although another Chan River demon had entered, he couldn't do much. Black Bug longed for more Chan River demons to enter, but he knew that almost all of them had entered the alternate space. In addition, Ancestor Dashi's alternate space was too restrictive. This old monster's test is insane. Black Bug cursed angrily. Whoosh, Lin Feng entered Ancestor Dashi's alternate space. This place was completely different from Ancestor Qianming's alternate space. The moment Lin Feng entered this new alternate space, he felt a sense of comfort. It was as if he had returned home. The rich aura of the earth filled the space, and the vigorous elements of the earth surrounded him. The law of earthquake and the law of defense existed in every corner of this space. The environment here was relaxing. I wonder what the test is. Lin Feng was very curious. Almost 2 years had passed, but the ancestor's soul still hadn't appeared. This meant that it wasn't easy. Ancestor Big Stone is much stronger than Ancestor Qianming. Naturally, the test will be harder. Lin Feng understood as well. After going through Ancestor Qian Hui's journey to the alternate space, he knew a lot about obtaining ancestral souls. Let's go and see if there are any aboriginals here, Lin Feng said with a sneer. The first thing to do after entering the alternate dimension was to explore the environment and search for the secret to trigger the ancestral spirits. However, Lin Feng soon returned in disappointment. Not only were there no natives here, there weren't even any ordinary life forms. There were only some flowers, grass, trees, and a vast expanse of land. It was completely different from Ancestor Qianming's alternate space. Is the area much larger because Ancestor Dashi was stronger? Lin Feng continued to explore. He suddenly stopped, and his eyes lit up. Up ahead, there was a very strong aura. At the same time, it was also very familiar. As early as outside the square, when he first saw him, he had already remembered him. One of the top 10 experts of North Chan River, Black Bug. Lin Feng grunted softly. The earth elements in front of him rippled, and Black Bug's sharp body suddenly appeared in front of him. Its cold eyes stared straight at Lin Feng as a terrifying aura spread out. Immortal Chaos Hole? Black Bug's voice was hoarse and muddy. Yes, Senior, Lin Feng said politely. Black Bug snorted coldly, unable to hide the disdain in its eyes. It didn't even bother to say a word and turned to leave. Senior, wait, Lin Feng shouted. Follow me. Black Bug's cold voice rang out. Its body shot out like a spike ball. Lin Feng hesitated for a moment before following. In front of them was an enormous and tall mountain peak. It was made up of 3 overlapping mountain peaks that were close together. It was very strange. Bang! Black Bug landed, and the entire ground shook as if there was an earthquake. Its small body was terrifyingly heavy. Lin Feng's eyes glinted as he followed the black worm and descended. The answer you want is at the mountain peak in front of us, Black Bug said in a low voice. Lin Feng nodded and walked forward. As he approached, he raised his head. The 3 mountain peaks were like 3 ancient swords that pierced into the sky, making it impossible to reach. The 3 mountain peaks were closely connected, as if 3 brothers were holding hands. This is... Lin Feng saw a fan-shaped hole in the middle of 2 of the mountain peaks. He reached out and gently touched it. Instantly, there was a ripple in his mind, and Ancestor Dashi's vigorous voice rang out. Lin Feng's eyes instantly lit up and flickered nonstop. His gaze fell on the fan-shaped hole. Soon whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng's figure moved continuously. There was a fan-shaped hole in the middle of every 2 mountain peaks. However, one of the fan-shaped holes was filled with a jade-like object. Right now, only 2 of the fan-shaped holes were empty. Do you understand? Black Bug's voice was cold. Lin Feng looked at Black Bug and nodded slightly. Senior, did you obtain this piece of earth essence? Black Bug answered in a low voice. A total of 3 pieces of earth essence are needed to open the 3 stone peaks and obtain the ancestor's soul within. Earth essence, 3 stone peaks, ancestor's soul. Just as Ancestor Dashi said, as long as one grasps a nomological mystic technique, one can obtain a piece of earth essence. Lin Feng looked at Black Bug. Is there an exact geographical plan, or hint? A nomological mystic technique was a mystic technique created from nomological powers. Lin Feng's boundaryless saber art had a similar effect. However, one stemmed from saber arts and strength, while the other stemmed from nomological powers. Boundaryless saber art could unleash the saber art realm. As for nomological mystic techniques, they could unleash the nomological realm. No, Black Bug said coldly. Every blade of grass, tree, sand, and stone here could be the source of a mystic technique. There are no hints. One can only rely on one's aptitude to cultivate and comprehend it. I understand. Thank you, Senior. Lin Feng nodded. Black Bug looked over coldly. As long as you can obtain a piece of earth essence, I will reward you handsomely. Lin Feng smiled. He more or less understood that he had only met Blackworm here. It was obvious that he had killed all the other demons of Chan River. He had acted too quickly, and now he was alone and helpless. He could only rely on himself to gather the 3 pieces of earth essence. It was extremely difficult. Ancestor Dashi was skilled in 2 types of earth heavenly Tao: earthquake nomological laws and defensive nomological laws. Although Blackbug was skilled in defensive nomological laws, he was not skilled in earthquake nomological laws. The only piece of earth essence in the 3 stone peaks clearly came from Blackbug. However, it was relatively difficult to obtain the other 2 pieces. Although less than 2 years had passed, the 10-year time limit would only worsen. Chapter 1561. A Lost Secret Technique. It was very attractive to Lin Feng. His tyrant dragon clone had just become an immortal chaotic whole, and his law of earthquake had reached the pinnacle. He still had a long way to go before he could reach perfection. Just the life rating alone was extremely difficult. The Chan River demons could absorb the Chan River's energy and become a black domain master, but he couldn't. From an immortal chaotic whole to a black domain master, he had to improve his cultivation of the Tao of space. It was impossible to jump directly from an immortal chaotic whole to a black domain master. Therefore, if he wanted to improve his strength, he would have to cross 2 levels. However, his combat power wouldn't be hindered. Ancestor Big Stone's lost secret techniques are the law of earthquake and the law of defense. Both are at perfection. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he recalled the fight he had with Ancestor Big Stone in the crystal statue. Ancestor Big Stone had defeated him with the law of earthquake. Defensive lost secret skills were all about defense. The law of earthquake focused on control and attack. I didn't get injured for nothing. Lin Feng smiled. If he hadn't probed before entering the alternate space, he would have been confused and didn't know where to start. However, his goal was clear now, and he knew the full picture of the lost secret technique. Although it was only one, it was enough. This shouldn't be Ancestor Big Stone's strongest lost secret technique. It's just right. Lin Feng nodded. If it was the strongest lost secret technique, it would correspond to the law of earthquake at perfection. As for the lost secret technique that defeated him, he felt that it should correspond to the law of earthquake at the pinnacle level. There was a big difference between the 2. Not only could he comprehend a lost secret technique at the pinnacle level, but he could also use it to his advantage. The stronger a lost secret technique was, the better. The key was its applicability. This alternate space was created by Ancestor Big Stone's consciousness. Every place contains the law of earthquake and the key to a law secret technique. However, there should be a key place. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. It would take more than 2 or 3 days to find that crucial location. Right now, he had nothing but plenty of time. There was no need to worry about safety here. Although the black worm was strong, it could not even take care of itself. It still needed his help. Let's stroll around and experience Ancestor Big Stone's concept, Lin Feng said with a smile. There were still more than 8 years left. Lin Feng was 90% confident that he would be able to grasp that secret skill. After all, with Heisher Zhu Yu as a precedent, if Heisher Zhu Yu could comprehend and learn one of the secret skills in less than 2 years, he would be able to do the same. The key was to find the entry point. Deducting those 2 years, could it be that he couldn't find it within the next 6 years? The crux of a nomological secret technique used by Ancestor Big Stone is the shockwave. It's an invisible but powerful shockwave that causes the laws of earthquake to change continuously, layer upon layer, before converging to unleash a terrifying might. Lin Feng remembered it very clearly. After all, this was the move Ancestor Dashi had used to defeat him. Using an object to comprehend a technique, Lin Feng naturally had experience. His boundaryless saber technique was created this way. It was not easy to create something out of thin air, but it was very easy to create something based on certain foundations. The geographical environment often seemed ordinary, but it actually contained the laws of the heavenly Tao. It was just that one's realm was too low to see it. The more ordinary it was, the more profound it was. The fluctuations of plants, the rhythm of a river, or the swooping of a waterfall. Lin Feng traveled through the alternate space. With the help of various environments, he comprehended different natures without any distractions. To him, victory or defeat was no longer important. Being able to comprehend the nomological secret technique in this alternate space was the most important thing. If he could comprehend it, his strength would rise to a higher level. Could it be the pulse of the earth? Lin Feng pressed his ear to the ground, closed his eyes, and carefully sensed. Every time he went to a place, he sensed something. Because there were traces to follow, his target was very clear. Fluctuations. Furthermore, they were fluctuations that could stack. What exactly is it? Lin Feng muttered to himself and walked around aimlessly. He had already explored a lot of the alternate space. More than half a year had passed, but there was still something missing. Did I mention the key point wrong? Or Lin Feng's gaze swept across. Ahead of him was a deep swamp. Numerous muddy streams wriggled and flowed like snakes, and they occasionally rose and fell slightly. Lin Feng was just about to stride over when he suddenly had a thought in his heart, causing his foot that was stepping in midair to suddenly sink and fall into the swamp. In an instant, an imperceptible fluctuation twisted the suction force and pulled him down. Lin Feng twisted his body. In an instant, an even stronger fluctuation came, and the suction force became stronger. The more he struggled, the stronger the suction force. Every fluctuation was very ordinary, but it could be condensed and accumulated. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Half of his body was in the swamp. He felt the unique fluctuations of the swamp, and a door seemed to open in his heart. With his strength, the swamp naturally did not pose any threat to him. The fluctuations of the swamp faintly overlapped with the secret technique of the law that Ancestor Dashi used in his mind. Feeling the active earth elements around him, it was compatible with the law of earthquake. Lin Feng quickly entered a state of comprehension. That's it. This is the key to the secret technique of the law. The continuous fluctuations turn into continuous power. It keeps accumulating. Lin Feng revealed a satisfied smile. He had already grasped a corner of the secret technique of the law. The rest was very simple. From 1 to 100, then to 1,000, then to 10,000. To him, he did not need 2 years to complete his comprehension. Time passed day by day. Lin Feng was in the swamp, motionless, as if he had been petrified. Comprehension state. At this time, including the half a year that Lin Feng spent searching for the key point, 1 year and 2 months had passed. His comprehension had reached the final stage. Bang! A violent fluctuation, with Lin Feng as the center, instantly spread out. It spread out like a spiral. The swamp around Lin Feng violently moved up and down. The original fluctuations were completely disrupted. The surrounding earth elements surged over, and Lin Feng seemed to have turned into the law of earthquake. He turned from a stone statue to the center of the swamp. Pa! Pa! The swamp flowed backward, shooting out like a fairy, scattering flowers. Lin Feng opened his eyes. The swamp around him shot out like sharp arrows. He was like the center of storm. In an instant, there was no more swamp around him, revealing Lin Feng's body. The law of earthquake's secret technique. Lin Feng was very satisfied. Since I comprehended it in the swamp, I'll call it the swamp earthquake. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. At this time, the surrounding space vibrated intensely. Rich earth elements gathered and formed in the center. An essence, jade-like object appeared in his eyes, condensing an astonishing amount of earth energy. This is the essence of the earth. Lin Feng reached out and grabbed it with a smile. Chapter 1562. Compared to obtaining the quintessence of the earth, Lin Feng was more satisfied with his mastery of mud flow quake. He continued cultivating and comprehending for dozens of days, perfecting mud flow quake. Mud flow quake is an attack-type law secret technique. In fact, the strongest law of earthquake should be a control type. Lin Feng knew this. However, Ancestor Big Stone had only demonstrated the mud flow quake, a nomological mystic technique. Just this lost secret technique alone had caused him to lose miserably. The difference in strength was huge. The attack type is not bad either. I can at least advance it. Lin Feng used the boundary saber technique and tried to fuse the two. The boundary saber technique had been created by him, so it would be much easier to improve it. However, it wasn't easy to fuse two Chaos Whole immortal powers. After trying for a long time without any progress, Lin Feng put it aside for the time being. After all, he was still in an alternate space. The black bug has already obtained one quintessence of the earth. It still needs two more to obtain the ancestor's soul. Lin Feng calculated inwardly. With the black bug's ability, it shouldn't be a problem to obtain the second quintessence of the earth before the 10-year time limit is up. As for the third quintessence of the earth, it was uncertain. Therefore, regardless of whether I obtain the ancestor's soul or not, I will definitely leave this alternate space. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Being able to complete the mission test early was something to be happy about. However, there was still a lot of time left. Let's continue comprehending the next lost secret technique, Lin Feng said. The quintessence of the earth doesn't need to be placed immediately. It will be more valuable later. If I can comprehend another lost secret technique, I will be able to leave this place without the black bug's help. The law of earthquake focuses on control, while mud flow quake is an attack-type lost secret technique. With Ancestor Dashi's ability, there should be at least one more control-type lost secret technique that can perfectly display the law of earthquake. Lin Feng nodded. His gaze swept across this **** land before his figure flashed and left. He continued comprehending. Lin Feng traveled through Ancestor Dashi's alternate space. This space was much larger than Ancestor Qianming's, so it would take a long time just to explore it. As he traveled here, he could feel the rich law of earthquake and abundant earth elements at all times. He had crossed the sea of sand, crossed the lake, and cultivated in the polar regions. In Ancestor Dashi's alternate space, there were all kinds of terrains. Lin Feng was completely immersed in them. Everywhere he went, he would cultivate his saber art and comprehend the law of earthquakes. As for the search for lost secret techniques, there was no requirement. After all, the search this time was different from the first time. The creation of the mud quake secret skill did not originate from himself. Instead, it was based on his memory. This time, there was nothing to learn from. For Lin Feng, this was also a considerable challenge. Fortunately, whether or not he succeeded would not affect the final result. Thus, Lin Feng was very relaxed. He was completely immersed in the alternate space. After a few years, his cultivation of the laws of the earth had improved significantly. Lin Feng took a deep breath, and the corners of his mouth curved slightly. Unknowingly, my cultivation of the laws of defense has also risen to the peak. What an unexpected gain. The laws of the earth had 6 heavenly Tao. Ancestor Dashi was proficient in the laws of earthquake and the laws of defense. It was precisely because of his specialization that these 2 laws were the most abundant in this alternate space. If he had entered Ancestor Earth Vessel's alternate space and had all 6 laws of the earth, he would not have been able to obtain them. Although my cultivation of the laws of defense has only just reached the peak, there's still a huge gap between it and the laws of earthquake. However, it's not bad. Lin Feng smiled in satisfaction. Although his saber art had not improved significantly in the past few years, the fusion of the boundary saber art and mudquake had begun to take shape. He had a certain foundation. Although he had yet to complete the 3rd move of the boundary saber art, with his current strength, he was qualified to challenge the top 10 experts of the North Chan River. Therefore, Lin Feng was not afraid of Blackworm. I'm still not his match, but Blackworm is good at defense and not offense. He can't kill me. Lin Feng knew very well that with his top-notch defensive laws, his immortal body, and the peak chaos whole mystic treasure, his defense was equally powerful. Even if he was not as good as Blackworm, he was not far off. In the past few years, I've almost explored the entire alternate space, but there doesn't seem to be anything special. Is it because my law of earthquake cultivation is not enough? Lin Feng had some doubts in his heart. After all, he had comprehended mud quake, which corresponded to the top-notch law of earthquake. Given Ancestor Dashi's strength, the other secret techniques of the law of earthquake might very well correspond to the perfect law of earthquake. Then his law cultivation was lacking by an entire level. This level was very fatal. It was the difference between advancing to the Chaos Hole Immortal level and advancing to the Black Domain Master level. Forget it. Don't think too much. There are less than 5 years until the time limit. I'll walk around and see if I missed anything. Lin Feng clenched his fists and was in a good mood as he comprehended the top-notch defensive laws. Apart from opportunities, one's mentality was also very important. Day after day, year after year. In Ancestor Dashi's alternate space, Lin Feng's life was very fulfilling. His strength was slowly improving every day. Although it was hard to see with the naked eye, the accumulation was considerable. In particular, his blade technique had improved. Mudquake could already fuse with the Boundary Saber technique and unleash a portion of its power. His attack power and combat power had both increased by a level. To Lin Feng, even if he couldn't comprehend the next secret technique, this trip to Ancestor Dashi's alternate space was already worth it. There are still 2 years left. Let's go back and take a look. Lin Feng had already circled the alternate space twice and scanned the entire area. He hadn't missed anything. There were many reasons why he still hadn't comprehended anything. Perhaps his comprehension wasn't enough, or his life force wasn't strong enough, or his law cultivation was too shallow. It didn't matter. This kind of comprehension couldn't be forced. If it was there, it was there. If it wasn't there, it could only be there. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure flashed and returned to where Blackbug was at the 3-stone peak. The towering 3-stone peak was like a sharp cone that pierced the sky. At this time, other than Blackbug, there were 2 other Black Domain Masters present. Oh! Lin Feng's heart was moved. He had seen one of them before. He had arrived earlier than him. The other should have entered after him. His gaze fell on the 3-stone peak. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Until now, there was only one earth essence in the holes of the 3 peaks. The other 2 holes were empty. Black Bug still hasn't comprehended anything. Lin Feng felt a little troubled. Even if he added his piece, there was still 1 piece left. There wasn't much time left. Wait, Lin Feng was startled. He looked at the 3-stone peak, then at Black Bug and the other 2 Black Domain Masters. His body trembled. He seemed to have made a mistake somewhere. Chapter 1563. Including Black Bug, the 3 Black Domain Masters were all at the 3-stone peaks. Was it coincidence? Definitely not. Closing his eyes, Lin Feng sensed the aura fluctuations around him. The 3 Black Domain Masters were gathering their power, and strands of energy were being emitted from the 3 stone peaks. The source was precisely those 2 holes. I understand now. Lin Feng was suddenly enlightened. He gathered his consciousness into one of the holes. Instantly, a wave of heartfelt fluctuations came from the hole. An image appeared in his mind, as if he was in the same place after a while. Pa! Lin Feng opened his eyes and let out a light sigh. No wonder they're all here. It turns out that they can comprehend secret techniques here. Lin Feng bitterly smiled. His first impression was the strongest. He thought that it was the same as the creation of the realmless blade art, which used the entire area as a medium to create. It turned out that it wasn't like that. Using the holes as a medium to comprehend Ancestor Big Stone's power was more convenient and direct. No wonder it's so difficult. Lin Feng shook his head. He had gone down the wrong path. That was why he hadn't made any progress in the past few years. If he hadn't seen Ancestor Big Stone use the mud flow quake, he probably wouldn't have been able to comprehend it. Therefore, the earth essence directly appears in the hole and fills it up. It can't be comprehended in other places and then inserted into the hole. No, when I comprehended the mud flow quake, I also obtained the earth essence. Therefore, there isn't only one method. Lin Feng nodded. Although his method was a little stupid, it was a free combination of factors that allowed him to take the initiative. The other Black Domain Masters couldn't take away the earth essence, but he could. Once the 2 pieces of earth essence appeared, his piece would become a crucial bargaining chip. No wonder Blackbug had placed a piece of earth essence so early. No wonder he had spent such a short time comprehending one of the secret techniques. It turned out that there were traces to follow. Let's try comprehending it. Lin Feng was moved. Immediately, he focused his consciousness on the other hole. Instantly, a strong fluctuation came. Lin Feng's breathing became hurried. The scene before him changed, and he arrived at a whole new five-colored realm. The law of earthquake. The previous holes were for comprehending the law of defense, while this one was for comprehending the law of earthquake. So, I just need to stay here and comprehend. Lin Feng smiled. Understand. So that's how it is. The wild laughter came from the black bug. The barbs on its back were completely erected, and its sinister face was continuously howling like a wolf. It was clearly extremely happy. At this moment, the second hole of the 3 stone peaks was sparkling with jade light. It quickly gathered and sealed the second hole. Not far away, a regretful sigh could be heard. One of the Black Domain Masters had an ashen expression as he stared at the sealed second hole, his eyes spitting fire. Obtaining the second piece of essence of the earth might not be a good thing for him. Sealing the hole meant that he could no longer comprehend the lost secret skill from it. The 10-year time limit was coming to an end. After Blackbug's wild laughter, it was replaced by a desolate gnashing of teeth. No matter how powerful he was, he wouldn't be able to comprehend 3 lost secret skills, especially the third one, the law of earthquake, which wasn't his forte. In other words, he had to rely on the other Chan River Yao clan members. However, one of the Black Domain Masters had just entered not long ago, and his chances were slim. As for the other one, his strength was too low, and his comprehension efficiency would be lowered if his strength was too low. Even if he came alone, he only had 2 years left. It wasn't enough time. I'm one of the North Chan River's 10 great elites. Am I going to die in this damned place? Blackbug was so angry that his face was ashen. He glared at the Chan River Yao clan member who had just entered and made an unpleasant cracking sound. Those familiar with Blackbug knew that this was a sign of his extreme anger. Roar! Blackbug roared, causing the space around the 3 stone peaks to tremble violently. Lin Feng let out a soft of his eyes shining. Killing intent. It came from Blackbug. Boom! Blackbug's attack was fast, accurate, and ruthless. In the blink of an eye, it killed a Black Domain Master. It was the Black Domain Master who had just comprehended half of the lost secret skill. Black Domain Master's eyes widened in shock. He probably didn't expect Blackbug to attack him. The two of you listen up. Blackbug hovered in the air and roared. I'll give you 1 year. If you don't comprehend it by then, don't blame me for being impolite. His roar shook the area. Blackbug bit the Black Domain Master he had killed. His mouth was full of blood, and his eyes were like a demon's. Lin Feng smiled and closed his eyes. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. What a good move. Lin Feng had some understanding of Blackbug. When he had just entered, he had encouraged him with generous rewards. Now, the time limit was getting closer and closer. Seeing that there was still no movement, Blackbug chose another method, threat. Using death as a threat, he forced him and the other Black Domain Master to use 120% of their strength. As for the Black Domain Master he had killed, he was useless. Like Blackbug, he only cultivated the law of defense and didn't have the law of earthquake. Therefore, his death was inevitable. 1 year, huh? Lin Feng smiled. He didn't care about Blackbug's threat. Compared to Lin Feng's calmness, the other Black Domain Master, Qi Shun, couldn't smile. That was Blackbug, one of the 10 great experts of the North Boat River. If he had known that Blackbug was here, he wouldn't have come here even if he was beaten to death. Facing strong pressure, some warriors could pull themselves together and stimulate their potential, such as Lin Feng. There were also some martial artists who would feel fear, and drag down their efficiency. Qi Shun was one of them. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Good. Blackbug hovered in the air and bared his teeth. Flames burned in his eyes. Very good. You 2 pieces of trash wasted another year of my time. With a mournful cry, Blackbug's aura suddenly surged. It was as if he had gone mad and didn't kill the Black Domain Master. Instead, he chose to attack Lin Feng. Lin Feng knew that this was the final struggle of the Black Bug. Although he also cultivated and comprehended the law of earthquake, he was the last one to comprehend it. Secondly, he was the weakest. In Black Bug's opinion, it was impossible for him to comprehend a secret technique. Since that was the case, he might as well make the best use of it and kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The effect this time would definitely be better than the previous time. However, you want to kill me? Lin Feng's smile instantly turned cold. His aura suddenly surged. The tyrant dragon clone's massive body was covered in a layer of illusory black cloak. Outside its body, two different auras of the earth condensed. Law of earthquake. Law of defense. What? Black Bug, who was attacking Lin Feng, was stunned. Chapter 1564. An immortal chaos hole and two top-tier earth laws. Black Bug, who hadn't expected this, was stunned. At this moment, Lin Feng's sharp saber energy had already rushed towards the Black Bug's face. It was as fast as lightning and directly blasted towards the Black Bug's head. The latter's reaction was also quite fast. Its head shrank back, and like a hedgehog, it stretched out its right claw, aiming straight for Lin Feng's chest. After all, Black Bug was one of the top 10 powerhouses of North Chan River. Although he had been caught off guard by Lin Feng, his strength was still top tier. Black Bug didn't care about Lin Feng's attack at all. With his top-tier defense among the top 10 powerhouses of North Chan River, ordinary Black Region Masters would find it difficult to break through. They might even be injured. But this time it was different. What's going on? Why is his body so slippery? Just as this thought appeared in his mind, Black Bug felt a sharp pain. His curled-up body felt as if it had been hit by a huge mountain, and he flew backward with a boom. What a powerful attack! Black Bug was horrified. In just one round of battle, he had been hit with a nose full of dust. The immortal chaos hole in front of him had hidden his strength extremely well and was unexpectedly strong. Damn it! Lin Feng's strength ignited Black Bug's anger. He was one of the top 10 powerhouses of North Chan River. He had always been the one to teach the other Chan River Yao clan a lesson. When had he ever been taught a lesson by another Chan River Yao clan member? With a roar, the hedgehog-like spikes on his body became even more sinister and sharp, shining with a cold light. Crack! Crack! Black Bug's body suddenly doubled in size. It wasn't just his body that had increased. His muscles, armor, and aura had all increased along with his body. Black Bug gnashed his teeth. This fellow is dead for sure. The Black Region Master, Wu Shun, had a solemn expression as his body trembled slightly. Those familiar with Black Bug knew that he was not only angry, but also, he was going all out. Boom! After transforming, Black Bug's speed doubled. He swung his claws, which were all sharp, as if he was holding countless sharp swords. Peak Chaos Hole Treasure Hunt. Jibai. Lin Feng had long since been prepared. Jie Wu's blade art was used to block Black Bug's attack. What a powerful saber technique. Black Bug's heart skipped a beat, but his attack was not slow at all. In a split second, the two blades collided. Black Bug roared and directly broke Lin Feng's saber technique. Then, his terrifying attack came again. The 10 great experts of the North Chan River were definitely worthy of their reputation. Although Lin Feng's boundary saber technique was strong, based on the strength he displayed now, he was definitely not the Blackworm's opponent. Pung! Lin Feng, who had been blasted away, flew out. The Black Bug attacked like a shooting star, its speed extremely fast. Kill him. The Dark Region Master, Wu Shun, who was watching from the side, gritted his teeth. Although he had no enmity with Lin Feng, he knew the Black Bug's goal. As long as Lin Feng died, at least he would be safe. But in an instant, Wu Shun froze. Lin Feng stood there in the distance, but it was as if he had disappeared. His body, his eyes, and his aura had all sunk into an extremely terrifying level, as if he was an empty existence. What? Black Bug's eyes were cold. His two claws continuously changed, transforming into two flashes of lightning. Together with his body's innate talent, rays of light shot out. The power of the law of Earth supported the power of the law of Earth as Blackbug used his strongest attack. His intuition told him that the opponent in front of him was very dangerous. He had to go all out, but he was still wrong. Lin Feng was more powerful than he thought. Boom! Lin Feng attacked, his sharp claws containing an extremely powerful saber technique realm. The entire space seemed to be swallowed by a void, the saber technique silently cutting through everything. With one move, realm prison shattered space. Boundary saber techniques, second move, empty realm. Pung, pung. The strongest against the strongest. Lin Feng and Blackbug both grunted and retreated. In a head-on collision, no one had the upper hand. Blackbug was extremely good at defense, so he was not injured too much. As for Lin Feng, he had the mysterious Yin cloak, which gave him an advantage in attack power, so he was naturally unharmed. When did North Chan River have such a powerful chaos hole immortal? Blackbug cursed inwardly. His entire body was numb. Although he was not injured, Lin Feng's attack made him feel threatened. Before he could stand still, the sound of wind could be heard in the distance. Who? A powerful aura was about to attack. Damn it! Blackbug's eyes widened as he charged forward. Both sides exchanged blows, but no one could do anything to the other. Lin Feng's attack power was stronger than Blackbug's, but Blackbug's defense was extremely terrifying. As one of the top 10 experts of North Chan River, Blackbug had rich battle experience and knew how to play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. The intense battle was not inferior to the battle between the top 10 experts of North Chan River. The high-level Black Region Master, Wu Shun, was dumbfounded. Who would have thought that a Chaos Hole Immortal would be so terrifying that he could fight Blackbug as an equal? It's over. Wu Shun's eyelids became heavy, and his face turned pale. His only hope was that Blackbug could kill Lin Feng and end everything. However, Blackbug couldn't do it. It was just like how Lin Feng couldn't kill Blackbug either. The two experts' defenses were stronger than their attacks. Although Lin Feng was confident that he could injure Blackbug, he couldn't kill him. Since that was the case, he might as well wait until he was confident in killing Blackbug. Awesome. Lin Feng stopped and smiled. Being able to fight an expert like Blackbug without any scruples was a great help to him. Blackbug's expression flickered. His pair of eyes stared straight at Lin Feng as he said in a deep voice, "Brat, where the hell did you come from? North Chan River doesn't have an immortal chaos hole like you." Lin Feng smiled casually and didn't explain. He let Blackbug figure it out himself. "Senior, do you still want to fight?" Lin Feng asked with a smile. The corners of Blackbug's mouth twitched as he cursed inwardly. He had already used all his strength, but he still couldn't defeat this immortal chaos hole. What was the point of continuing? Humph! Blackbug raised his head, looking angry. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Then let's stop here. Senior, we don't have any grudges. If you want to kill me, you're just putting on a show for him." Lin Feng pointed at Wu Shun, who wasn't far away. Wu Shun's face turned pale as he hurriedly retreated. "So what?" Blackbug snorted. Lin Feng looked at Blackbug, his eyes flashing. "Senior, you want to go out, right?" "Nonsense," Blackbug said coldly. Lin Feng looked at the Blackbug. "Leave the remaining piece of earth essence to me." "You?" Blackbug raised his eyebrows. "Why? You don't believe me?" Lin Feng smiled. Blackbug wanted to speak, but his words were stuck in his throat. He had just seen Lin Feng's strength, so he couldn't treat him as an ordinary immortal chaos hole. Blackbug frowned and said, "With your strength, it's possible for you to comprehend it, but there's not enough time, right?" Lin Feng said. Blackbug nodded. Lin Feng smiled. 1 year is long enough to comprehend it. Why don't we make a bet? Chapter 1565. Take a gamble? Blackbug frowned and stared at Lin Feng. "What do you want to bet on?" Lin Feng smirked and pointed at the empty hole. "Let's bet on this. Half a year. If I fill it up in half a year, I win. If you can't fill it up, I'll lose." Lin Feng looked at the Blackbug. Blackbug grunted and smiled contemptuously. Lin Feng smiled. "This is a good bet for you, Senior. If you lose, you can get the Ancestor's soul and enter the 4th checkpoint. If you win, even if you can't leave here, you'll at least make a profit, right?" Black Bug frowned and seriously considered Lin Feng's words. It was indeed so. To him, this seemed to be a reasonable and perfect bet. Regardless of whether he won or lost, he would make a profit. However, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. You're one of North Chan River's top 10 experts. You can't be so cowardly, right? Lin Feng teased. I'll bet. Black Bug glared. I'll bet this. Lin Feng took off his darkening cloak and threw it to the distant Wushan. The latter's eyes widened in shock as he caught it in a panic, cold sweat dripping down his face. What? Black Bug's expression changed. He had just exchanged blows with this set of armor and recognized it. It was a peak chaos profound treasure, the dark-een cloak. I have 2 peak chaos profound treasures on me. This one isn't very useful, so I'll bet on it. Lin Feng looked at Black Bug and smiled faintly. Senior, if you don't have it, you can bet on a peak chaos profound treasure. Black Bug's face turned ashen. What did he mean by if you don't have it? He naturally had peak chaos profound treasures on him, but the problem was they were his lifeblood. Although Lin Feng had allowed him to bet as he wished, how could he take out a peak chaos profound treasure when a chaos immortal was taking out a peak chaos profound treasure? If news of this spread, he would lose face. Looking at Wu Shun, who was staring at him from afar, Black Bug gritted his teeth. His eyes looked like he wanted to kill someone. Wu Shun wanted to cry, but had no tears. He even had the heart to die. He was really being attacked for no reason. Senior? Lin Feng called. Good. I'll bet. Black Bug clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter, making an unpleasant cracking sound. It was enough to show the raging anger in his heart. At this moment, he finally understood what was wrong. Regardless of whether he won or lost, he would still benefit from this bet. But that was on the premise that the stakes were small. If the stakes were high, then regardless of whether he won or lost, he would feel that he had suffered a great loss. Take it. Blackworm removed the strange object on his hands, which looked like boxing gloves and knives, and threw it at Wushan. The latter hurriedly caught it, but his heart had already sunk to the bottom. He had become the gambling notary for no reason, and it was an arduous and unrewarding task. It would be fine if Black Bug won, but if he lost, Wu Shun's back was ice cold, and his heart was beating violently. He would be used as a punching bag to vent his anger. He fearfully landed on the immortal chaos hole. Lin Feng smiled and nodded at him. Wu Shun's vision turned black. This seemingly silly, immortal chaos hole was a needle hidden in cotton floss and a knife hidden in a smile. It was even more terrifying than Black Bug. Sigh, who did I offend? Wu Shun sighed inwardly. His heart was broken. It's settled then, senior. Good luck to us. Lin Feng smiled. His figure flashed, and he immediately entered a cultivation state. To Lin Feng, this was a sure-win bet. There was only 1 year left in the 10-year time limit. He had no confidence in comprehending the remaining earthquake lost secret techniques within this year. Therefore, he could not wait until the time limit was up. Leaving half a year was necessary. With his current strength, he could definitely challenge the weaker ancestors. After all, they were not real ancestors. They were just consciousnesses. If he challenged them a few more times and familiarized himself with the ancestors' combat methods, his chances of passing would be very high. Therefore, even if he did not bet with Black Bug, he would still have to hand over the earth essence he had. As for the ancestor's soul, it would definitely be Black Bug's. After all, he had obtained 2 pieces of earth essence. However, it did not matter. An ancestor's soul in exchange for a peak chaos hole mystic treasure. Furthermore, it was an earth-type treasure. No matter how one looked at it, it was a profit. Moreover, it was a huge profit. The first ancestor's soul in exchange for a treasure. The second ancestor's soul in exchange for a treasure. An ancestor's soul is a good thing. Lin Feng smiled. He had already made a lot of money from the third trial. Without any distractions, Lin Feng was completely relaxed. His consciousness once again focused and fell into the deep hole. Rather than calling this half a year his last chance, it would be better to say that it was a means to fool Black Bug. Even he did not believe that he could comprehend this nomological secret technique in half a year. However, sometimes fate was wonderful. 3 months later, what? Blackbug's eyes widened as he stared at the final hole of the 3 stone peaks. A layer of light slowly condensed. It was a perfect and flawless energy that resembled jade marrow. The light was translucent and gradually took shape. Not only was Blackbug shocked, but Wu Shun's mouth was wide open in disbelief. In his opinion, although the bet was a little big, Blackbug's chances of winning were still relatively high. How was it possible to comprehend a nomological secret technique in just half a year? However, it had only been 3 months. Impossible, impossible. Wu Shun was petrified. At this moment, Blackbug suddenly reacted. His gaze fell on Wu Shun, and his face turned pale. He saw Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng had already grabbed Wu Shun and was looking at him with a smile. Crack! Wu Shun's eyes widened in shock and indignation. He was killed directly. Thank you for your kind intentions, Senior. Lin Feng raised the 2 treasures in his hand and smiled at Blackbug. He knew Blackbug's personality. After all, these were peak chaos mystic treasures that Blackbug was used to using. They were perfectly compatible treasures. Even if he was shameless, Blackbug would definitely want to take them back. He naturally wouldn't give Blackbug the chance. As for Wu Shun, from the moment he became the witness of the bet, he was already a dead man. This half a year was just his last gasp. After the bet ended, even if he didn't kill him, Blackbug would definitely not let him off. Whoosh, the void released a blinding light as the 3rd earth essence shone brightly, enveloping the 3 stone peaks. Blackbug's expression was livid. Ancestor Dashi's voice sounded forcefully. Clap! A beam of light shot out from the middle of the 3 stone peaks, splitting them apart. The resplendent beam seemed to have a life of its own as it landed on the gloomy Blackbug. It was the ancestor's soul. Blackbug gritted his teeth, emitting cracking sounds. He glared at Lin Feng angrily as he held the ancestor's soul. However, he couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. They had already fought once, so Blackbug knew Lin Feng's strength very well. Congratulations, Senior. Lin Feng smiled. Instantly, 2 beams of light descended, sending Lin Feng and Blackbug out of the alternate space. Chapter 1566. Swoosh! Lin Feng and Blackworm appeared in Ancestor Hall at the same time. Blackworm's body glowed faintly, while Lin Feng had none. However, Blackworm's face was ashen, while Lin Feng was smiling. Those who didn't know better would think that Lin Feng was the one who had obtained the ancestor's soul. Return the 10,000 fangs blade to me. Blackworm gritted his teeth and spat out these words. Lin Feng froze, then laughed involuntarily. Did I hear wrong, Senior? Blackworm's words were full of mockery. Not only was Blackbug's face ashen, but it was also pale and unsightly. At this moment, he could not care less. He gritted his teeth and said, I can give you other treasures or agree to some of your conditions. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. I'm sorry, Senior. With that, he turned and left. Perhaps Blackworm had been valuable to him before, but now that he was as strong as Blackworm, Blackworm was no longer useful to him. I'll give you one last chance. The Blackbug emitted a cracking sound, suppressing its extreme anger. Lin Feng smiled. This threat might work on the other Chan River demons, but he didn't care. Boom! Blackworm's furious attack was blocked by a powerful energy. He couldn't use his martial arts here. Blackworm's face twisted as he looked at Lin Feng's back. You'll regret this, he roared. The word regret doesn't exist in my dictionary. In the distance, a loud and clear voice reverberated in the ancestral hall. Offend Blackstone? Lin Feng didn't care. Perhaps he had many friends, such as the other 10 great experts of North Chan River. However, at the last hurdle, they were all enemies. It was good enough that his friends didn't kick him when he was down. How many of them would help him? The position of King of North Chan River was coveted by all the demons of Chan River. Moreover, even if the other 10 great experts wanted to fight him, there was nothing to be afraid of. My battle strength was already comparable to Blackstone's, and I was at the bottom of the 10 great experts of North Chan River. Coupled with the new nomological secret technique I comprehended, I should be at the middle of the 10 great experts. Lin Feng smiled. Light flashed in his hand, and a pair of strange objects appeared. They looked like gloves, but there was a pile of sharp blades on top of them. They looked like sharp blades, but in fact, they were made up of countless small blades. It was as if teeth. No wonder they're called the 10,000 Fangs blades. Lin Feng picked them up and observed them carefully. The dense earth element energy gave off a feeling of a vigorous atmosphere. It was as thick and heavy as the earth, giving off a boundless pressure. This was a peak chaos cavern profound treasure. A peak chaos cavern treasure. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he tried to put on the 10,000 tooth blade. The huge claws easily pierced through them. The 10,000 Fangs blade seemed to have a life of its own as it firmly wrapped around the claws. Lin Feng clenched his fists. It was incomparably compatible, as if it was a part of his body. A peak chaos hole mystic treasure is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng suddenly slashed out. Swish! It tore through space with speed and sharpness. The 10,000 Fangs blades had layers of blades that tore through space. The attacks contained earth elemental energy. This was still in its unfused state. If it could be completely fused, his attack power would reach a higher level. The Tyrant Dragon clone couldn't wield a blade, so the 10,000 Fangs blades made up for it. Attack, I have the 10,000 Fangs blades. Defense, I have the Mysticking Cloak. My equipment should be enough for the time being. Lin Feng had a smile on his face as he walked through the Ancestral Hall. There were only 9 months left until the end of the time limit. Those who needed to be decided had already been decided. Lin Feng circled around and counted a total of 66 ancestral statues that were dim. In other words, there were already 66 Chan River demons at the final checkpoint. It's normal. In the last 9 months, there should be a small number of them. The smallest number will be around 70, and the largest number will be around 80. They will be our final opponents. Lin Feng was deeply interested in the final checkpoint. Although he didn't have the ambition to fight for the throne of North Chan River, he wanted to participate in this grand event and face the many experts of North Chan River. With his current strength, he wouldn't be at the mercy of others. But before that, first, he had to obtain a ticket to enter the final checkpoint. There's still 42 ancestors. Lin Feng closed his eyes, and the images of the statues appeared clearly in his mind. The strength of each ancestor, their specialties, and so on were clearly recorded in his mind. Even the weakest of them had advanced to the Black Region Master Realm. They had even surpassed the advanced Black Region Master and reached the level of the 3-winged monarchs. Of the 42 ancestors, only 3 have advanced to the Black Domain Master level. The majority are either peak or peak. Lin Feng carefully selected and quickly found the 3 ancestors who had advanced to the Black Domain Master level. The ordinary Black Region Masters were equivalent to the weakest of the 3 strongest experts of North Chan River, Vioelectric. Consciousness fragments only have about 10% to 20% of the original body strength. Lin Feng pursed his lips. The strength of these 3 ancestors is about the same. For example, the ancestor's attack power is stronger. The ancestor of Pure Heart King is known for her ghostly movement techniques and agility, while the ancestor of Ghost Splitter is the most outstanding in close combat. For me, the easiest one to deal with should be, for example, the ancestor. Lin Feng nodded. He wasn't afraid of the ancestor's attack power because his defense was strong. He had the law of defense, the Shinin cloak, and his body was strong enough to contend against the ancestor. Most importantly, he had to adapt to this level of attack. For example, the ancestor's strength was only on par with the weakest of the 3 strongest experts, Lei Dian. His consciousness fragments only had about 10% to 20% of the original body strength. If he couldn't even kill him, then he would definitely be defeated by the 3 strongest experts in the 4th checkpoint. From the very beginning, his goal wasn't the 10 strongest experts of North Chan River. It was the 3 strongest experts, Vioelectric, Aurora, and the strongest, King Yanwang. There's still 9 months left. Just enough time to prepare. Lin Feng rubbed his palms. He didn't have any doubts about whether he could obtain the ancestor's soul. With his current strength, he could obtain one of them. Whether it was the ancestor of Pure Heart King or the ancestor of Ghost Splitter, he had a 99% chance of obtaining them. The only difference was the length of time. After all, the consciousness fragments only had about 10% to 20% of the original body's strength. When the original body advanced to the Master of Black region, the consciousness fragments only had the basic strength equivalent to the 10 strongest experts of North Chan River. Moreover, the consciousness fragments' attack patterns were very easy to grasp. Actually, this is also a rare trial. Lin Feng smiled. To be able to find a sparring partner of similar strength for free. Even if he didn't improve much in the past 9 months, he could at least integrate his current strength. Before entering the 4th checkpoint, he would raise his strength to the peak. Chapter 1567. Outside the Beichan Hall, a group of Black Domain Masters were either standing or sitting cross-legged. Every one of them had a powerful aura, including the top 10 powerhouses of the Beichan River and the 3 most powerful powerhouses. The rest of the high-level Black Domain Masters were also famous and powerful existences in the Beichan River. The palace was divided into 3 levels. The outermost level was the ordinary palace complex, the inner level was the Ancestral Hall, and the innermost level was the Beichan Hall. After passing through the Ancestral Hall was the Beichan Hall. This was where the final checkpoint was located and where the king of the Beichan River would be decided. At this time, there were only 10 days left until the end of the 3rd checkpoint. The 77 powerhouses were gathered in one place. Those who should be here were already here. The 3 most powerful powerhouses, King Yinwang, Aurora, and Violet Electric, were at the top. None of the Beichan River demons dared to approach, and their gazes were filled with fear and challenge. There was no doubt that after entering the 4th checkpoint, the 3 of them would become the target of public criticism. Look, how many moths are staring at us? Aurora's jet black hair was combed back, and 2 crystal earrings jingled as he revealed an evil smile. His physique was not much different from a normal human's. Are you afraid? Zidian's voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. On her delicate face, there were 2 purple streaks of lightning. Uh-huh. Aurora laughed wildly, his voice unruly and contemptuous. His arrogance was unmistakable. These small fries won't be able to do anything. I only have one opponent. Aurora's expression suddenly froze, and his eyes shot into the distance like swords. A man as large as a mountain, like a pillar supporting the heavens, was leaning against a giant stone pillar with his hands crossed in front of his chest. His cold and emotionless eyes were looking at the ground without any emotion. King Yinwang, are you confident? Violet Electric's bouncy long legs shifted position. Aurora shook his head and looked at Violet Electric with bright eyes. If you join forces with me, it will be different. Violet Electric smiled sweetly. Even if I were to join forces with you, we still wouldn't be a match for the King of Hell. Violet Electric turned to King Yinwang, and her beautiful eyes flickered softly. I'd rather help the King Yinwang than help you. At the very least, I won't have to worry about him when he becomes the king of Beichan River. No way. Aurora's mouth twitched. She was obviously stunned. Violet Electric blinked and smiled. I'm just kidding. We still have to see how the rules of the 4th checkpoint turn out. Everything is still unknown. Yes. Aurora nodded. Violet Electric said, Tangji's rules are very interesting. Combat power is important, but it's not necessarily what determines advancement. Look at him. Violet Electric pointed at Kuei Zei. Little fellow from the Kuei clan, you're merely a chaos hole immortal, yet you were able to pass the final checkpoint. This little fellow isn't simple, Ji Dian praised. Not even an intermediate Black Domain Master could reach the 4th checkpoint. All of them were advanced Black Domain Masters. Only Zei was an immortal chaos hole. He was the only one. While they were talking, suddenly, the doors of the Ancestral Palace opened once more. Everyone from the Chan River Devil race looked over and gasped in surprise. Violet Electric and Aurora looked over and frowned. Another immortal chaos hole. When did the immortal chaos hole transformation become so powerful? Aurora asked, puzzled. I don't know, but I've seen him before. He was with Yuan Shi's, and he was able to make it to the 4th level. His luck is pretty good. Purple Lightning's chest heaved up and down as she looked at Lin Feng with curiosity. Aurora smiled and then looked at Violet Electric. It shouldn't be as simple as luck. Violet Electric smiled. Even if he has the aptitude and strength, he's only in a mortal chaos hole. Reaching this point is already his limit. We only have one opponent. Aurora nodded heavily. King Yinwang. He was the strongest of the 3 strongest cultivators. Not only were the North Chan River's 10 strongest apprehensive of his existence, but even Aurora and Violet Electric were deeply worried. If he wasn't eliminated, the 4th checkpoint might very well exist in name only and be controlled by King Yinwang. King Yinwang was the strongest of the North Chan River. I'm finally out. There's still 10 days left. That's enough. With the experience of the 3rd checkpoint, Lin Feng had come out 10 days earlier. He had already practiced for 9 months, so there was no need to rush these 10 days. Lin Feng scanned the Chan River Devil Race and quickly locked onto 3 targets. The 3 strongest auras. They're the 3 strongest of the North Chan River. Lin Feng glanced at them and then at the other Chan River Devil Race members. Heart-Closing Sword, One-Eyed Swallow, Chess Player, and the rest of the Chan River Devil Race members saw them. Especially Schwa. Their gazes were like sharp arrows that could penetrate one's heart. They came from Blackbug. Anger, hatred, thick resentment. Lin Feng smiled and nodded at Blackbug, completely ignoring Blackbug's murderous gaze. He had expected to run into them here, so he wasn't surprised at all. Brother Tang Feng. Not too far away, Yinze walked over with a smile. Brother Yinze, Lin Feng greeted him. Haha, I knew that Brother Tang Feng wouldn't be willing to come out until the last moment. Yinze smiled. To be honest, I was worried that you wouldn't be able to come out of the ancestral hall. Lin Feng said, I just ran into a small matter. Something to do with Blackbug. Yinze's gaze was like a torch. He had long since seen the 10,000-tooth blade in Lin Feng's hand. He raised his head and glanced at the furious Blackbug, making no effort to conceal his hatred and murderous intent towards Lin Feng. He basically knew what had happened. Haha, I can't hide it from Brother Yinze. Lin Feng laughed valiantly. The 10,000-tooth blade glowed with a cold light. It was like a wolf king stroking its claws, hiding its viciousness within. Over the past 9 months, he had not only consolidated the fusion he had obtained, but he had also fused the 2-peak chaos profound treasures together. Before entering the final trial, his combat strength had reached its peak. Although he hadn't made any obvious improvements, he no longer feared the top 10 experts of the North Chan River. You even dared to offend Blackbug. You really are. Yinze laughed bitterly. I've already provoked him. What's there to be afraid of? Lin Feng smiled casually. It was hard to say who would lose out. After chatting with Yinze for a while, Lin Feng left once more. This place was different from the Ancestral Hall. There was no way to enter the Chan World Tower, but he had already bought the Black Tower, so it wasn't too troublesome to return. Although he had wasted a Black Tower, it was worth it. When he had left last time, he still had 107 World Tower crystals left. He was about to enter the 4th trial, and whether he could become a dragon or a snake depended on this. There was no point in keeping the World Tower crystals. Whether he could enter the next time was still unknown. As such, using them up was the best decision. 10 days. 107 World Tower crystals. Lin Feng entered the 2nd floor of the Chan World Tower, his eyes shining. Chapter 1568. Lin Feng had 107 Realm Pagoda crystals. The reason he had returned the last time was because the number was awkward. He couldn't get a high number, but he couldn't get a low number. To Lin Feng, the best treasure in the Realm Pagoda was none other than the light of the Chan River. The most essential light of the Chan River on the 2nd level cost 50 Realm Pagoda crystals each. 1 Realm Pagoda crystal could almost make 1 nomological Great Tao reach the peak. 107 Realm Pagoda crystals could buy 2 light of the Chan River. Only 2 light of the Chan River is not enough to improve my dark magic to perfection. Similarly, I can't comprehend all 6 earth laws to the peak. As for peak chaos dark treasures, they are valuable in quality, not quantity. I already have the 10,000 Fangs blade and the mystic cloak, one for offense and one for defense. Their combination is perfect enough to strengthen my combat strength. Even if I have a few more, it will only be icing on the cake. Besides, I don't have time to fuse them. Lin Feng stepped onto the second level of the realm pagoda. His gaze casually swept across the dazzling array of treasures. Every one of them was useful, but not very useful. They couldn't greatly increase his combat strength. Even if I absorbed 2 light of the Chan River, I can only comprehend 2 more top-notch earth laws, improve my perception and control of the earth Tao, and increase my physical strength. Unless I comprehend all 6 earth Tao, the improvement won't be great. Lin Feng knew very well. There were 3 ways to improve one's nomological Tao. The first method was to focus on a single law and improve it to perfection, then cultivate it to perfection. This path was simple and direct, but the further one progressed, the more difficult it would be. This was especially true for higher-level laws. It was already very difficult to reach perfection, let alone cultivate it to perfection. The second way was to fuse 2 nomological Tao to form a new nomological power. It was easier to fuse nomological Tao with similar compatibility, but the increase in strength wouldn't be great. On the contrary, the harder it was to fuse nomological Tao, the stronger it would be after fusion. The third way was to cultivate all the branches of a heavenly Tao, such as the Earth Heavenly Tao. By cultivating all 6 great Tao to the peak, one's perception and control of the Earth element would increase by a level. With a little fusion, it would be comparable to a nomological Tao at perfection. Each of the 3 methods had its advantages and disadvantages. I can't do the third one right now. As for the first one, Lin Feng pondered for a moment before shaking his head. My life force is too low. After all, I'm still a human. Even the Tyrant Dragon avatar is the same. Unless I comprehend the true meaning of space and become a master of Black Region, even if my comprehension of the Tao of Law is sufficient, it will be difficult for me to reach perfection. Strength and cultivation complemented each other, but they also restricted each other. Only the second option is left, Lin Feng said. Although the fusion seemed easy, it was actually extremely difficult. Even though they were both branches of the heavenly Tao of Earth, it was still extremely difficult to fuse them into a completely new power of the Earth. Not only did it require comprehension, but it also required creativity. He had tried to fuse a nomological mystic skill into his saber technique. It was much simpler than fusing 2 nomological paths, but it still took a lot of time. Although he could use it now, he could only use a portion of its power. The fusion required a lot of time. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long breath. Right now, what he lacked the most was time. He couldn't do this, and he couldn't do that. Unknowingly, Lin Feng had already reached the end of the second floor. There were 3 unique treasures placed there alone, like the kings of treasures. Each of them required 100 realm tower crystals. Treasures. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he stared at the 3 treasures. If he couldn't increase his strength internally, he would increase his external strength. Instead of exchanging 50 realm tower crystals for a peak chaos dark treasure, he might as well exchange for the best one. To be able to stand at the top of all the treasures on the second floor, these 3 treasures naturally had their own strengths. The only pity was that unless he successfully exchanged for them, he wouldn't know what they were used for. The consumption of 100 realm tower crystals was somewhat of a gamble. To gamble or not to gamble? Lin Feng thought carefully as he circled the 3 treasures and observed them, hoping to find some clues. However, the ice was very tight and there were no flaws at all. Should I gamble? Lin Feng asked himself again. Gritting his teeth, Lin Feng was about to choose one when his body suddenly paused. His eyes flashed when he looked at the ice sculptures of the 3 treasures. Must I exchange for treasures? No. Lin Feng turned around and slowly walked forward. Behind the ice sculptures of the 3 treasures, there was a flashing light barrier door. It was like a huge dam blocking the front. There were 100 sunken holes above it, which required 100 realm tower crystals. This was the entrance to the third floor of the realm tower. 100 realm tower crystals. Lin Feng grabbed the heavy realm tower crystals. Without a doubt, the treasures on the third floor were definitely better than those on the second floor. He was even more curious about what treasures there would be on the third floor. It must be the most precious treasure in North Chan River. It was stronger than a peak chaos dark treasure and had the purest Chan River light. However, if he spent 100 realm tower crystals, he wouldn't be able to exchange for anything even if he entered the third floor. Or rather, even if he had 100 realm tower crystals, he wouldn't be able to exchange for anything. Based on the value of the treasures on the first and second floors of the realm tower, the treasures on the third floor were worth at least 100 realm tower crystals, 500 realm tower crystals, and even 1,000 realm tower crystals. 100 realm tower crystals was just a ticket. However, the ticket had its uses. The second floor of the realm tower has a realm tower guardian beast. Only by defeating the realm tower guardian beast can one truly enter the second floor of the realm tower. Lin Feng's memory was still fresh in his mind. Back then, he had spent a lot of effort to defeat the realm tower guardian beast on the second floor. He had challenged it 3 times. Every time he failed, he would face the wall in the alternate space of the realm tower for 300 years. However, the results were astonishing. With enough time, a quiet environment, and a focused cultivation, he had improved by leaps and bounds in the past 600 years. He had even created the realmless saber art and finally defeated the realm tower guardian beast to enter the second floor of the realm tower. Now, another opportunity had come. This was because in the alternate space of the realm tower, 300 years of punishment was only 1 day in the outside world. If the second floor has a realm tower guardian beast, the third floor will most likely have one as well, Lin Feng murmured inwardly. With his current strength, defeating the realm tower guardian beast on the second floor wasn't a problem, but it was impossible for him to defeat the realm tower guardian beast on the third floor. Failure was expected. However, the key was after his failure. If it's the same as the second floor, I'll be sent into the alternate space of the realm tower. I only need 100 realm tower crystals to challenge it indefinitely. In the remaining 10 days, I can enter the alternate space of the realm tower 10 times. Lin Feng was secretly alarmed. The alternate space of the realm tower could provide him with what he currently lacked the most: time. It's decided. Lin Feng had made up his mind as his eyes lit up. Chapter 1569. Punk. Landing heavily on the ground, Lin Feng widened his eyes and looked up at the sky. It was a familiar, empty whiteness, empty and silent. It was like a lifeless world without any life. Challenge failed. As punishment, you will meditate in a different space in the boundary tower. The spatial door will open when the hourglass falls. The vigorous voice rang out once again. Not only did Lin Feng not feel any annoyance, he even revealed a smile. It was exactly as he had guessed. There was indeed a boundary tower guardian beast on the 3rd level, and it was extremely powerful. I'm afraid it's comparable to the 3 strongest in the North Chan River. Lin Feng sighed. Against the guardian beast of the Upper Realm Pagoda, he had no power to fight back. He was quickly defeated and fell down. He returned to the different space in the boundary tower. The 100 boundary tower crystals were well spent. Lin Feng was very satisfied. There were still 10 days left. In other words, his 100 boundary tower crystals could be exchanged for 3,000 years of cultivation time. This was much more useful than the Chan River's light and the Chaos Hole mystic treasure. Although there was nothing here, and even the origin energy was extremely thin, it was quiet and empty. It was suitable for him to cultivate without any distractions. Oh, Lin Feng glanced at the giant hourglass not far away and was stunned. Did I remember wrongly, or am I seeing things? Lin Feng frowned slightly. The giant hourglass in the distance seemed to be bigger than he remembered. It was twice as big, no more than twice as big. Previously, it was hundreds of meters long. Now, it was more than 1,000 meters long. I understand. Lin Feng smiled. It seems that different levels have different punishments. This round of seclusion is not 300 years. It might be 800 years, 900 years, or 1,000 years. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. He did not care. On the contrary, he was even more satisfied. He wasn't afraid of loneliness. The path of becoming stronger was a lonely one to begin with. There is nothing better than having sufficient time to cultivate before entering the final hurdle. Although he could not comprehend the laws in heavenly Tao here, his combat strength was not limited to the laws in heavenly Tao. There were many things he could do here. He had plenty of time to do them. Let's start with the fusion of laws and mystic skills. Lin Feng quickly entered a state of cultivation. One cycle of 1,000 years. The punishment time here was longer than on the second floor, but to Lin Feng, it was more like a reward than a punishment. Compared to the 3,000 years he had originally estimated, he would have twice as much time to cultivate. 10,000 years of cultivation. In the 500th year, Lin Feng fused the secret technique Mud Flow Tremor with the first move of the Boundary Saber art. In the 2,300th year, Lin Feng fused the secret technique Circular Force Tremor with the second move of the Boundaryless Blade art. In the 3,000th year, he had perfectly grasped the peak Chaos Cavern Profound Treasure, the Profound Een Cloak. In the 4,400th year, he had perfectly grasped the peak Chaos Cavern Mystic Treasure, the Myriad Tooth Blade. In the 5,900th year, Lin Feng let out a long breath. Standing at the end of the second level, he looked at the long heaven stairway that led to the distant void world and to the unknown third level of the world tower. This time, he did not enter, because there wasn't enough time. After 10,000 years of arduous cultivation, although he couldn't be said to have been reborn, he was already like a different person. It wasn't just the Overlord Dragon avatar. His main body was also cultivating in the alternate space of the world tower. Now, his main body and the Overlord Dragon avatar's combat strength were about the same. To be precise, his true self was a bit stronger. However, he could only use the Overlord Dragon avatar to fight now. Clang! The powerful saber beam was astonishingly sharp. It had the majesty of the earth. Combined with the eruption of strength and the gentleness of his body, it perfectly fused into one. Over the past 10,000 years, not only had Lin Feng perfected the Boundaryless Blade art, but he had also fused two nomological secret techniques into the Boundaryless Blade art. Black Worm? Now, his defense can't withstand my attack. Lin Feng was very confident. His current offensive strength was comparable to the strongest of the North Chan River's 10 great experts, Supremacy Yin. His defensive strength was even stronger than Black Worm's. His overall combat strength had increased tremendously. I should have already surpassed the 10 great experts of the North Chan River. Lin Feng clenched his fists. I should be comparable to the weakest of the 3 strongest experts, Violet Electric. Lin Feng smiled slightly. He was quite satisfied with his improvement over the past 10,000 years. With only 107 World Tower crystals, if he exchanged them for 2 Light of the Chan River and cultivated 2 nomological laws of Earth to the peak, he wouldn't be comparable to the strongest of the North Chan River's 10 great experts, let alone the 3 strongest experts. As for exchanging for treasures, whether they could be used was secondary. Just the fusion time was insufficient. Internal cultivation is more important than external cultivation. Lin Feng went to the first level of the World Tower and used 3 World Tower crystals to exchange for a Black Tower. He left with 4 World Tower crystals and left. Outside the North Chan Hall, experts gathered. The 3 strongest experts and the 10 strongest experts gathered their fighting spirit, waiting for the opening of the final checkpoint. The 10-year time limit had entered the final countdown. The final battle for the throne of the North Chan River was about to begin. The throne will definitely be mine. Eldest Princess Tang Wanfeng wore a phoenix crown and a robe. She was the most special among all the Chan River demons. Although her aura wasn't the strongest, none of the demons dared to underestimate her. No one knew how much power Eldest Princess Tang Wanfeng had in her hands, let alone how strong she was. They only knew that her subordinates were among the 10 strongest experts. King Yanwang stood majestically like a pillar supporting the heavens. His cold eyes were expressionless. No one could guess what he was thinking. With his strength, he was undoubtedly the strongest contender for the throne of the North Chan River. Two hot favorites. Of course, the others included Aurora, Violet Electric, Fallen Sovereign, Void Arrow, and Soul Being. All of them had a chance of winning the throne. Until the end, no one knew who the new king of the North Chan River would be. Even Yin Zhe, who only had the strength of a chaotic whole immortal, had a chance. Hua, Lin Feng's figure flashed. Quietly returning to the battlefield, Yuan Shiai's nodded slightly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng also smiled calmly. Leaving for 10 days was not a big deal. No one knew that he was no longer the same person he was 10 days ago. At this moment, the door of the ancestral palace opened once more. At the last moment, another Chan River Demon tribe member stood out. He was a strong-looking Chan River Demon tribe member. He only had 7 strands of hair on his head, and he had elf-like ears. His eyes were wide open, and he had a smile on his face. Intermediate Black Domain Master? Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He was the 80th person to advance, and the only intermediate Black Domain Master present. Hair, 7. He's good at scheming and resourceful. Although he's only an intermediate Black Domain Master, with a pinnacle chaotic whole mysterious treasure, he's comparable to an elite among advanced Black Domain Masters, Yanzhe introduced. Lin Feng nodded. Suddenly, Hong, the ground shook. Loud Sanskrit chants resounded outside the North Chan Palace. The color of the sky changed. Following the arrival of a dark cloud, a figure slowly appeared. It was the king of the North Chan River, Tangji. Chapter 1570. Go to Beichan Hall and obtain the recognition of our ancestors. A new king of Beichan River will be born among you. An old voice came from Tangji's throat. His lonely back view was like an old man with one foot in the grave. His eyes, filled with vicissitudes of life, swept across all the Chan River demons present and slowly closed his eyes. The wind blew and the fog condensed. The black fog covered Tangji's figure as he gradually disappeared into the clouds. I'll wait for you inside. His voice echoed and lingered for a long time. Tangji had already disappeared from the Chan River demon's line of sight. Only the towering Beichan Hall remained. Creak, the door to Beichan Hall slowly opened, as though it had been pushed open by someone. The door emitted a crystalline luster. It was translucent and mysterious, but no one could see what was inside. Every Chan River demon held their breath, their hearts pounding as they waited for the moment the door fully opened. Although none of the Chan River demon clan knew what the final hurdle was, or who the ancestor Tangji was referring to was, or how they could obtain the ancestor's acknowledgement, they were already overwhelmed with excitement. Even the 3 strongest cultivators revealed looks of excitement. The prelude to the battle for the title of king of Beichan River had begun. The Chan River demons were waiting for Beichan Hall's door to fully open so that they could enter Beichan Hall to search for their ancestors and obtain their recognition. Suddenly, swoosh, 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 figures suddenly surged out of Beichan Hall's door. They were a group of ferocious-looking, ugly monsters covered in thick silver scales. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws. They were tall and had terrifying strength. Punk, the nearest Chan River Demon Clan member, didn't even have time to react before the silver-scaled monster clawed at him. The top-grade chaos whole mystic treasure on his body instantly cracked, and a powerful impact sent him flying like a cannonball. Chi! 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 The silver-scaled monsters appeared one after another. The Chan River demons guarding Beichan Hall's door immediately suffered. Those who were slow to react were struck. One of the Chan River demons was even surrounded by 3 silver-scaled monsters and killed. The Chan River demons were dumbfounded. They had no idea what had happened. It was clearly the 4th obstacle, but it had suddenly turned into a massacre. The guardian beast of the Realm Tower. Lin Feng recognized it at a glance. These were the guardian beasts of the Boundary Tower on the 2nd floor. They were exactly the same, Even their violent attacks were exactly the same. Using the most primitive method and the most direct power, he blasted out a powerful attack. It contained the powerful energy of the Chan River. Lin Feng knew very well that the guardian beasts on the third floor of the Boundary Pagoda had golden scales, and their bodies were thicker and larger. What kind of monster is this? Yuan Shiai's was completely dumbfounded. He watched as the high-level black domain masters, who were much stronger than him, were surrounded and killed one after another. His surroundings were completely sealed off, and behind him was the ancestral hall, which had long since been sealed off. The guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. Lin Feng's voice rang out beside his ear. Mingze quickly turned his head. Lin Feng smiled. Don't worry. In front of them, dozens of Realm Pagoda guardian beasts rushed out in an instant. Although the Chan River Demon Clan was caught off guard at the beginning, they quickly launched a counterattack. With the three strongest experts leading the charge, the Chan River Demon Clan's combat strength could not be underestimated. The situation was quickly reversed. Although the Realm Pagoda guardian beasts were strong, they were only on the second floor. Their strength was equivalent to that of the high-level Black Domain Masters. At least half of the 80 Chan River Demon Clan members here were stronger than them. Fortunately, we're standing at the back. Yuan Shiai sighed. The Realm Pagoda Guardian Beast had only reached 1/3 of the formation before they couldn't go any further. The elite experts of the North Chan River were gathered here, especially the three strongest experts, Aurora, Violet Electric, and King Yanwang. Each of their attacks could easily kill a Realm Pagoda Guardian Beast. It's only for a while. Lin Feng smiled, his eyes shining. Let's rush over. Rush over? Yuan Shiai's frown puzzled. Lin Feng said, there's an endless stream of Realm Pagoda Guardian Beasts. We don't know how many there are. Some of the Chan River Demon Clan members have already entered the North Chan Hall. If we don't go in, we'll have to face more Realm Pagoda Guardian Beasts. Now that there was a group of experts helping to resist, it wouldn't be so easy to enter. Cold sweat dripped from Yuan Shiai's forehead. Understood. Thank you, Brother Tang Feng. Lin Feng smiled. Follow me. After saying that, he shot forward like a sharp arrow. It was a chaotic battle, so it was easy to penetrate. Lin Feng waved his claws at the same time, displaying his strength in every move. The myriad-toothed blade transformed into a cold light, surging with the earth origin. The sharp attack also contained the vigorous power of the earth. It was quite powerful. Myriad-toothed blade, heavy blade strike. Rumble. Boom. Lin Feng opened a path, killing the Realm Pagoda Guardian Beasts one after another. Not only was Yuan Shiai's dumbfounded, but the other Chan River Demon Clan members also widened their eyes. How could a Chaos Hole immortal be so strong? Were they seeing things? You stole my myriad-toothed blade. I'll kill you. At Lin Feng's side, the black bug that had been waiting for a long time suddenly attacked. Its body suddenly expanded, and its entire body was like a hedgehog. Sharp cold spikes shot straight at Lin Feng, and its eyes were bloodshot. Although he didn't have the myriad-toothed blade, he was still one of the top 10 experts of North Chan River. His talent and defense wouldn't change at all. Be careful. Mingze's heart was greatly shaken. He saw Black Bug, one of the 10 great masters, suddenly attack without warning. He opened his mouth, but before he could shout, Lin Feng seemed to have foreseen this. The tail whip behind him swept out with a thunderous force. Boundary Supreme Blade Technique, New Silent White. After fusing with the Law Secret skill Mud Flow Quake, the current Silent White was even stronger than the second move of the Boundaryless Saber Art, Empty Realm. After 500 years of bitter cultivation, Lin Feng had long since perfected this move. Although it was his first time using it, the power was much stronger than when he fought Black Bug for the first time. Much stronger. Boom! Black Bug's eyes widened in shock. His sneak attack had failed, and he had been beaten. His black, sharp carapace seemed to have been crushed. The tail whip of the tyrant dragon split it open, and blood splattered. With a cry, Black Bug was sent flying. He was completely stunned. How can his attack be so strong? Impossible. Black Bug's eyes widened. He couldn't imagine that Lin Feng, who was on par with him back then, had become so strong in just 9 months. No, it was terrifying. Black Bug crashed into the palace wall. Black Bug was in great pain. He gritted his teeth. No matter how strong his defense was, he was still injured. Before he could recover, that majestic figure and familiar aura appeared again. No, Black Bug looked at the myriad tooth blade that once belonged to him in fear. It was like a meteor shower that tore through the air. Chi, 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 chi. The boundless light turned into streaks of sharp light that tore the black worm's body to shreds. North Chan River's top 10 experts died tragically. Chapter 1571. Everyone looked over in shock, not even daring to breathe loudly. These high and mighty Chan River demons had never imagined that there would be a day when an undying chaos hole would appear and kill an advanced Black Region Master like Paper. He had killed Black Bug, one of the 10 great warriors of North Chan River, known for his defense. He was one of the best among the advanced Black Region Masters. Impossible. This can't be real. Too terrifying. Every Chan River demon who saw this felt their hair stand on end. Most of them were much weaker than Black Bug. The undying chaos hole they didn't even know the name of, the weakling they didn't even bother to look at, had unleashed such power that it scared them out of their wits. They didn't know what had just happened. All they saw was that Black Bug had been killed. He had been killed in an instant without even being able to retaliate. Regardless of the reason, regardless of the objective factors, none of that mattered. What mattered was Black Bug was dead. The Chan River demons looked at Lin Feng in a completely different light, from disdain to nervousness, apprehension, and fear. Even the other 10 great warriors of North Chan River who hadn't entered yet frowned. Although they didn't have a good relationship with Black Bug, seeing him killed made them feel very uncomfortable. As for the 3 strongest warriors, they had already entered North Chan Hall. Shua. Lin Feng killed Black Bug and glanced around coldly. The other demons didn't dare look him in the eye, let alone avenge him. Without stopping, Lin Feng rushed towards the entrance of North Chan Hall. Although he had wasted some time, he had to get rid of Black Bug. After entering North Chan Hall, everything was unknown. Lin Feng wasn't stupid enough to leave an enemy who hated him to the bone behind, even if Black Bug's strength was no longer a threat to him. Death was the safest option. Chi, the 10,000 Fangs blade, opened up a path and faced the 2 guardian beasts of the Realm Tower that had just emerged from the gate. Lin Feng did not hold back and killed them one by one with his claws. With his current strength, even the Black Bugs could be easily killed, let alone these guardian beasts of the 2-story Realm Tower. The path ahead was unobstructed. Lin Feng transformed into a stream of light and instantly entered the North Chan Hall. Behind him, the Chan River Monster Clan scrambled to follow Lin Feng. The light in front of him was dazzling, turning into endless white light that enveloped everything, as if it was going to devour everything. What felt like an extremely long time had passed, yet it also felt like it had only been an instant. As the white light faded, Lin Feng regained consciousness. What entered his eyes was a resplendent crystal palace and a huge statue. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. His resolute face carried a dignified aura. His neck was covered with a layer of silver scales. He wore a set of cyan battle clothes. His body was covered with scales, but they were sparse. He looked like a human, but he exuded the energy of Chan River. Clearly, he was from the Chan River demon race. His eyes shone brightly, revealing the aura of a superior being. Could he be the ancestor? Lin Feng was puzzled as he scanned his surroundings. Other than him, there were already many other demons from Chan River gathered. Everyone had come to the same place. Brother Tang Feng. In front, Yuan Shi'ai smiled as he walked over. Brother Yuan Shi'ai. Lin Feng greeted him. Brother Tang Feng really hid his strength well. It's amazing. Yuan Shi'ai sighed. You killed the top 10 experts of North Chan River and shocked the Chan River Monster Clan. Brother Tang Feng's strength is truly terrifying. However, you revealed your strength too early. Brother Tang Feng, aren't you afraid of becoming a target? Lin Feng smiled. It's fine. If his target was the king of North Chan River, as Yuan Shi'ai said, it would be inappropriate. However, he was here to challenge them. It was better to do as he pleased. Furthermore, Black Worm had to be killed sooner or later. Haha, Brother Tang Feng is really straightforward. Yuan Shi's changed the topic and pointed forward. What do you think? Lin Feng looked around and shook his head. There doesn't seem to be anything special. Other than this statue, there is nothing else suspicious in this palace. There is also no entrance. Yuan Shi's nodded. His eyes were like torches. I have never seen the appearance of our ancestor. I don't know if it is him. However, there is only a statue here. He should be our ancestor. Perhaps. Lin Feng smiled in response. Everyone, including the 3 strongest experts, had gathered in the Crystal Palace. Some were silent and deep in thought. Some were whispering to each other. They did not know what to do next. Some of the smarter Chan River Monster clan members had already knelt down and bowed to their ancestor. However, it was useless. Some Chan River Monster clan members searched around, hoping to find an exit. However, the surroundings were sealed. Every part of the palace was made of the same crystal. It was clear and bright. There was a leaf-like shape on top of it. They did not know what it was. Even more of the Chan River's Yao clan stood quietly, observing the situation. Lin Feng was one of them. He was not stupid enough to become the target of public criticism. Moreover, he was not a Chan River Monster clan member. One by one, the Chan River Monster clan members entered. The Crystal Palace began to bustle. Soon, the number of 80 Chan River Monster clan members exceeded 60. As time passed, the number gradually stabilized. No more Chan River Monster clan members appeared. Lin Feng looked around and knew what was going on. 66. In the first round, 14 Chan River Monster clan members were killed. Lin Feng was inwardly shocked. This was a signal to all the Chan River Monster clan members that the final hurdle would not be so easy. Those who try to bluff their way through would not be able to escape death, even if they reached the 4th hurdle. The guardian beasts of the Realm Pagoda could not be killed. There would only be more and more of them. Therefore, if they did not break out of the encirclement, their chances would only become slimmer. How long do we have to wait? That's right. What are they up to this time? Do they need to make it so complicated to become the king of North Chan River? Why don't they just fight? The Chan River Monster Clan members gradually lost their patience and began to shout. The Monster Clan had always believed in strength. After waiting for a long time, one of the Chan River Monster Clan members could no longer bear it. He flew into a rage and clawed at the only ancestor statue in the Crystal Palace. The Chan River Monster Clan members cried out in alarm. Bang! An attack as heavy as 1,000 caddies. If it hit, the ancestor statue would shatter without a doubt. Daring to attack the ancestor statue here was not because he was bold, but because he did not use his brain at all. As expected, just as his attack arrived, the ancestor statue's eyes suddenly shone brightly. Hiss! Hiss! 2 laser-like rays shot out of the ancestor statue's eyes and struck the Chan River Monster Clan member who did not know whether he was dead or alive. In an instant, the Chan River Monster Clan member who did not know whether he was dead or alive was reduced to ashes. There was complete silence. The Chan River Monster Clan members were stunned. This ancestor statue was alive. Chapter 1572. A living statue? This was a huge shock to the Yao of Chan River. Even the 3 strongest did not dare to act rashly, let alone the other Yao of Chan River. The entire Crystal Palace fell into an indescribable silence. They could even hear their own heartbeats. What should they do? What should they do next? None of the Yao of Chan River knew that the 4th checkpoint was a complete mystery. Even the rules were unknown. Only the king of North Chan River, Tang Ji, had said a few words before, go to North Chan Hall and obtain the ancestors' recognition. But how exactly should they do it? The Yao Chan River looked at each other blankly. Lin Feng was silent. His eyes scanned the surroundings and landed on the clear crystal. He looked at the leaves on the top and vaguely felt a trace of familiarity. These leaves... Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Looking around, Lin Feng's eyes trembled. His gaze landed on the ancestor statue. His eyes suddenly focused and his heart shook. He instantly understood. He nudged Yuan Zhe with his elbow. Did you notice the leaf shape on the crystal? Crystal leaf? Yuan Zhe was surprised, his eyes burning. Lin Feng said in a low voice, "Don't you think these leaves look like something?" Yuan Zhe's expression changed slightly. He quickly swept his gaze and exclaimed, "Scales!" His voice was not loud, but it was enough to attract the attention of some of the Yao of Chan River, including Aurora, one of the three strongest, who was not far away. The crystal chain on her neck vibrated and her earrings jingled. Aurora instantly shone brightly. To be able to become one of the three strongest, even if she was not extremely smart, she definitely had shocking comprehension. Whoosh! Aurora directly charged at the ancestor statue. The diamond-shaped white light on her forehead was completely bright. Her speed instantly reached its peak. Dense light element condensed around her body and turned into a pair of light wings. Beep! Beep! Two identical rays of light shot out from the ancestor statue's eyes and headed straight for Aurora. However, Aurora was too fast. The two rays of white light only hit Aurora's afterimage. In an instant, Aurora had passed by the ancestor statue. Pa! Aurora's figure turned around and stopped in an instant. The ancestral statue regained its tranquility and remained as still as a mountain. The confrontation just now was like a fleeting cloud, as if it had never happened. The Chan River Monster Clan members were stunned, not knowing what was going on. They looked at Aurora, who smiled and waved her hand. It was a piece of scale. The scales from the ancestral statue had been taken by Aurora in the blink of an eye. "I'll make a move first." Aurora laughed wantonly with a hint of arrogance. She turned into a bolt of lightning and landed in front of one of the crystal walls, reflecting the scale in her hand on the leaf. A bright light appeared, and the crystal wall swallowed the scale. The original leaf gradually darkened, as if it had been wiped away. Hua! Aurora's figure disappeared into the crystal wall. Everyone watched as he entered and disappeared. Suddenly, they were enlightened. It turned out that the key lay in the ancestral statue. The scales on his body. Whoosh! Whoosh! Several beams of light shot out at almost the same time. The Chan River Monster Clan members with the fastest reactions took the lead, trying to imitate Aurora and obtain the scales on the ancestral statue as quickly as possible. However, they had forgotten how did the first Chan River Monster Clan member die. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. The ancestral statue's attack speed was unbelievably fast. The original two beams of white light turned into 6 and shot towards 3 Chan River Monster Clan members. In an instant, 3 shrill screams were heard. The 3 Chan River Monster Clan members were attacked, and their souls dispersed. Even their corpses were purified by the white light, leaving nothing behind. Pa! Pa! Ta! Many of the Chan River Monster Clan members who were rushing forward stopped in their tracks, not daring to get close. They looked at the ancestral statue in shock and swallowed their saliva, their faces pale and powerless. They had tried to paint a tiger, but ended up looking like a dog. Aurora could obtain the scales, but it did not mean that the other Chan River Monster Clan members could do so. These were two different matters. In terms of speed, no one in North Chan River was faster than Aurora. He had already comprehended the law of light to perfection and was only one step away from perfection. With a peak chaos hole mystic treasure, he could easily avoid the ancestral statue's attack and obtain the scales. As long as he wanted, he could obtain 10 or 20 scales, let alone one. However, if the other Chan River Monster Clan members wanted to do so, they would be overestimating themselves. In terms of speed, they were tens of thousands of light years away from Aurora. Instantly, the Crystal Palace fell into a deathly silence. However, the silence only lasted for a short moment before it was swept away by a powerful aura. Ta! A figure with a mountain-like aura pressed down. His cold and emotionless eyes were filled with coldness and killing intent. His appearance caused the Chan River Monster Clan members to retreat. King Yinwang. Among the 3 strongest experts, he was the most terrifying one. What a powerful control of the earth. Lin Feng felt suffocated. He could clearly sense that King Yinwang's cultivation of the great path of earth was terrifying. Even if it was not comparable to Ancestor Dashi's, it was not much different. Facing the ancestral statue's terrifying attack power, King Yinhuang did not rely on speed to win like Aurora did. In the first place, this was not what he was good at. He took a large step forward and pushed out a pair of steel-like palms. There was no fancy technique, only direct and straightforward. The Chan River Monster Clan members felt suffocated. Even Lin Feng's eyes widened. He's resisting the ancestral statue head-on. The answer was revealed in an instant. Beep, beep. The ancestral statue shot out 2 rays of white light, aiming straight for King Yinhuang. The rays, which were powerful enough to destroy a high-level Black Domain Master, were about to pierce through King Yinhuang's powerful palms. Suddenly, King Yinhuang reached out and clenched his fist. The power of the earth in his palm clashed with the white rays of light. There was a muffled explosion, and the white light was resplendent. King Yinhuang reached out with his left hand and plucked a scale from King Yinhuang's chest. He stomped on the ground. Although his body was huge, his speed was not slow at all. In the blink of an eye, he had left the ancestral statue's attack range. It was not like Aurora's lightning-fast and carefree movements. However, it gave off a calm and steady aura. King Yinhuang relied on his own strength to obtain a scale. Without even looking, King Yinhuang took the scale and left. Everything was so natural. The 2 strongest experts each displayed their strengths. While holding the scale, they also gave the other Chan River Monster Clan members a big problem. How should they take it? Lin Feng was among them. He looked at the ancestral statue with bright eyes. Lin Feng was silent. Just now, he had used Feng Zhe's mouth to reveal the secret. After all, he did not want to attract attention. Seeing that the 2 strongest experts had obtained the scale, Lin Feng was not in a hurry. They were just an exception. There must be a way. It was just that he had not thought of it yet. If it were me, would I be able to block the ancestral statue's attack? Lin Feng suddenly had a question in his mind. Could he be as clumsy as King Yinluo Jin? Chapter 1573. The answer was that he didn't know. Lin Feng himself wasn't sure how strong his defenses were, but one thing was for certain. He was still lacking compared to King Yinhuang. The fact that the latter dared to use his body to block the attack meant that he had absolute confidence in his defenses. He himself wasn't. Watching King Yinhuang's departing figure, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. When he first entered Chan River, he couldn't even deal with ordinary Chan River Yao beasts. Then, after participating in this feast, he broke through to become a chaotic whole undying and was comparable to a high-level Black Domain Master. Now, he stood at the peak of North Chan River and could even kill the top 10 powerhouses of North Chan River. I'll catch up to him soon. Lin Feng set King Yinhuang as his goal. Among all of the Chan River's Yao clan members, only the 3 strongest were stronger than him at this final hurdle. Brother Tang Feng, what do you plan to do? Yuan Zhe asked. Wait. Lin Feng's answer was concise and powerful. He didn't have Aurora's speed, nor did he have King Yinhuang's ability to resist attacks. He could only think of a way. This was also what the other Chan River Yao beasts were thinking. Look, they're all staring at Violet Electric, Yuan Zhe said. Lin Feng said, of the 3 strongest powerhouses, only Violet Electric is left. Not only are they staring at Violet Electric, but they're also waiting for her to make a move to attract the ancestor statue's attention. That way, they can take the scales. Won't numbers be useless? Yuan Zhe asked, puzzled. Lin Feng shook his head. No matter how fast the ancestor statue is, attacking multiple is always slower than attacking one. As he spoke, Violet Electric made her move. The purple silhouette streaked across the sky and landed on the ground. With a shout, bolts of lightning fell from the sky. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Those bolts of lightning were chains that looked like pythons, attacking the statue of the ancestor. Z. 2 beams of white light suddenly shot out, shattering the lightning chain. However, they could not stop the lightning chain's momentum. Like a python, it directly bit off a scale. A smile appeared on Zidian's beautiful face. The instant Violet Electric made her move, at least 10 Chan River Yao beasts attacked the ancestor statue. They came from all directions and angles. Xiao, Z. Beep beep. The statue of the ancestor spun like a top, attacking continuously. In an instant, shrill cries rang out. The surrounding Chan River demons who had yet to make a move watched with trepidation, completely suffocating. It was extremely fast. A total of 11 Chan River Yao clan members participated in the battle. 9 died, 1 was injured, and 1 survived. The one that was injured was very lucky. He reacted quickly and only lost an arm. As for the one that was still alive, he was very despicable. Or rather, he was very smart. He took advantage of the time difference and hid behind the other Chan River monsters, forcing the Chan River monster in front of him to take on 4 attacks. 2. Lin Feng looked at the smiling intermediate black domain master. At this moment, the intermediate black domain master was holding the scale and smiling happily. He looked into the distance and saw that Violet Electric had already left with the scale. That works. So it's possible to dodge like that. The key is to attract attention. The ancestor statue is attacking from all directions. It's bound to be slow. As long as we cooperate well, there's a high chance. The Chan River Yao beast discussed. This success gave them a lot of inspiration. After all, they were only taking the scale and not destroying the ancestor statue. Lin Feng muttered to himself. What did you find, Brother Tang Feng? Yuan Shiai's whispered. Lin Feng nodded slightly. I found something, but I still want to take a look. Okay, I'll accompany you, Yuan Shiai said with a smile. Although some Chan River Yao beasts were already thinking of a plan to cooperate and take the scale, the survival rate was too low. Yuan Shiai's didn't want to take the risk. His gaze fell on Lin Feng. Yuan Shiai's was sure that this ordinary-looking Tang Feng would have a solution. This was because the previous 3 trials were all like this. Violet Electric is very smart, Lin Feng thought. Because the ancestor statue's attack only had 2 white light rays at the same time, and it was a straight line attack, just like an arrow that wouldn't turn after being shot out. She made use of the multiple uses of the chain and used the Chaos Whole Xian treasure to retrieve the scales. Compared to Aurora and King Jean, she took a different path. She used a trick, but she was very smart. If I'm not wrong, this is it. Lin Feng looked at the ancestor statue, his eyes flashing. If Violet Electric hadn't used this method, it would have been difficult for him to discover the secret of the ancestor statue. Now, he was 80% sure. The remaining 20% could be fully verified when the next wave of Chan River Yao beasts attacked. He wouldn't wait long, because the Chan River Yao beasts were impatient. Soon, the group of Chan River Yao beasts discussed a plan, including 2 of the top 10 experts. The 2 Chan River Yao beasts exchanged glances. Instantly, screech. The Chan River Yao beast behind the ancestor statue sped out. As the ancestor statue suddenly turned 180 degrees, another Chan River Yao beast appeared 90 degrees in the opposite direction. Then, another Chan River Yao beast appeared 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Layers of defenses condensed and Chaos Cavern treasures were activated. Boom, boom, boom. The Chan River Yao beasts were also risking their lives. It's quite organized. Lin Feng observed carefully. The 15 Chan River Yao beasts used the principle of displacement to analyze the ancestor statue's movements very clearly. The ancestor statue's movements were fast, but it was like a person running with all his might and suddenly taking a step back while running. This was more difficult than accelerating. It was precisely because of this that the ancestor statue's attacks slowed down significantly, giving the Chan River Yao beasts some time to catch their breaths. Although it was only some, it greatly reduced the casualty rate. Only 9 of the 15 Chan River Yao beasts died this time. Lin Feng nodded inwardly. The injured could always recover. It only took a little effort. Although a 40% survival rate wasn't high, it wasn't low either. Furthermore, this was only the first attempt. Brother Tang Feng and Zay's eyes flickered as he probed. Let them go. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Oh, and Zay's eyes lit up as he nodded without asking further. He trusted Lin Feng's intelligence very much. The next attempt will have a larger number. The survival rate might exceed 50%. Lin Feng looked ahead. With the first batch of Chan River Yao beasts leading the way, the second batch of Chan River Yao beasts quickly became restless and began their attempts. Sure enough, after gaining experience, the survival rate this time was more than 50%. After the two batches of Chan River Yao beasts were gone, only the last batch of Chan River Yao beasts remained. However, this group of Chan River Yao beasts lacked a leader. They had different opinions and argued until their faces turned red. It was difficult for them to cooperate. Lin Feng looked at Nze and sighed. Let's not wait for them. Let's pass first. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll fall too far behind. Nze smiled and nodded. All right, Brother Tang Feng, how should we pass? I'll go first. Lin Feng smiled and took a step forward. Chapter 1574. Look, it's that chaos hole immortal. What's he trying to do? I don't know. Don't tell me he's going to be like Aurora Polaris and King of Helgene. Going solo? Impossible. Even if he could kill Blackworm, he can't be as strong as the three strongest. He's just a chaos hole immortal. No matter how strong he is, he can't be that strong. I don't believe it. I don't believe it either. All of the Chang River Demon Clan members cast doubtful and curious gazes at him. Ji Zhe was the most curious. You want to know why Lin Feng was so confident. What was the secret of this ancestral statue? From the previous performance, the ancestral statue's attack power was terrifying. Other than King Yin Wang, none of the other Chan River demons dared to block it. Was it strength or intelligence? Ta! Lin Feng stopped. In the distance, the ancestral statue's eyes flashed brightly. The white beam was ready to shoot out at any time. It was like a loaded bullet waiting for Lin Feng to step into its attack range. The Chan River demons all held their breaths. In an instant, Lin Feng moved. To be precise, he moved a hidden weapon in his hand. It contained Lin Feng's aura and power. The hidden weapon shot out and attacked the ancestral statue. Instantly, beep, beep, two beams of light shot out from the ancestral statue's eyes and destroyed the hidden weapon. The attack power was terrifying. The surrounding demons didn't even see what the hidden weapon looked like. TSK, I thought it was powerful. Want to learn Violet Electric? It's not that easy. What a waste of a treasure. The Chan River demons were rejoicing in his misfortune. Just as they were laughing, Lin Feng suddenly took a step forward. Not far away, Yanze shouted, "Be careful." The surroundings became extremely quiet. The demons from Chan River stared at Lin Feng with their eyes wide open. They saw him walking towards the statue of their ancestor step by step. He was calm and indifferent. In fact, he did not even have the slightest bit of energy in his body. What was he doing? The demons of Chan River took a deep breath. Their hearts were already in their mouths. Just as they were about to see how the ancestor statue would kill this reckless demon of Chan River, they realized the ancestral statue was motionless as if it was dead. He completely ignored Lin Feng. Pa! Lin Feng was calm and composed as he plucked off a scale, then turned around and retreated out of the ancestral statue's range of attack. The entire process was completed in a single breath, and it was as if he was casually strolling through the clouds, causing others to be flabbergasted. What happened? This? The Chan River Demon Clan members stared at each other in bewilderment. Previously, in Aurora, the shock that King Yinwang had given them was far less than the shock that Lin Feng had given them. They had personally witnessed the terror of the ancestral statue and its unparalleled power. But now, the ancestral statue. It was as if he had really become a statue. Impossible. One of the Chan River monster's eyes turned red as he sped towards the ancestral statue. But in an instant, beep, beep, two rays of white light shot out. The mournful cry only lasted for a moment before disappearing. A dignified advanced-level Dark Domain master couldn't even resist before he was reduced to ashes. One in front and one behind. Two separate endings. The Chan River monsters had no idea what had happened. What Lin Feng had done just now was as miraculous as if he had cast a spell. It was unbelievable. Staring blankly at Lin Feng's figure, the Chan River monsters were stunned. Brother Tang Feng, what are you? Yanze stared at Lin Feng, his breathing becoming a little ragged. Lin Feng waved the scale in his hand and swept his gaze across the Chan River monsters. Does everyone want to know? His words instantly caused a huge uproar. The eyes of the Chan River monsters, who were originally prejudiced and jealous of Lin Feng, lit up. Their figures instantly flashed and appeared around Lin Feng, their eyes filled with pious desire. Brother, can you tell us the secret? Yes, we're all in the same boat. Tell us. We'll definitely remember your kindness. Please help us. The Chan River monsters begged. Even if they formed the last group and moved together, the survival rate was at most 50%. In other words, there was a 50% chance of dying, or even higher. This was too dangerous. Now, there was a perfect method in front of them that didn't need to take any risks. How could these Chan River monsters not be tempted? It's actually very simple. Lin Feng swept his gaze across the Chan River monsters and smiled. He could indeed leave with a method, but it wouldn't be very meaningful. After all, there were many Chan River monsters here, and they weren't stupid. As long as they were given time, they would understand the secret behind it. Rather than that, he might as well be a good person and earn some favors. After all, these Chan River monsters were the top experts of North Chan River. You've only noticed the offensive power of the ancestor statue, but you've missed the most crucial point. Lin Feng looked at the Chan River monsters and couldn't help but smile. Actually, the ancestor statue only attacks once. Bang! Lin Feng's words were like a sudden clap of thunder. The Chan River monsters widened their eyes and looked at each other. They carefully thought back to everything that had happened earlier, as if it's really like that. Yes, I've also never seen the ancestor statue attack the same enemy twice. That's because the enemy died after one attack. The Chan River monsters discussed fervently. Lin Feng smiled faintly. If not for the violet electric attack, he wouldn't have been so sure. The Chan River monsters have been so shocked by the ancestor statue's terrifying strength that they had neglected everything else. All you need to do is take out a hidden weapon and inject your energy into it to attack the ancestor statue. Wait until he uses the white light ray, then you can get the scales. Lin Feng looked at the Chan River demons who were staring at him in shock and shrugged. It's that simple. In fact, it was very simple. It was just that it was difficult to see through the situation. See you later. Lin Feng smiled as he waved his hand and left. There was a short moment of silence. Suddenly, the Chan River monsters' voices rang out. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. The Chan River monsters weren't cold-blooded. They all thanked Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He was very satisfied. To him, it was just a matter of saying something, but he had earned the gratitude of the Chan River monsters. Why not? Moreover, the strongest Chan River monsters were weaker than the black bug. Even if they entered the next stage, they wouldn't be a threat to him. Even if they were a threat, so what? Whoosh! The scale in Lin Feng's hand slowly disappeared. His body entered the crystal wall. As if passing through a spatial barrier, a white light flashed before his eyes. In an instant, 4 different colors appeared, as if the entire space had been divided into 4 parts. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 1575. Upon closer inspection, this was a fan-shaped space. At the end of the space were 4 bright doors of light. One was pure gold, one was silver, one was bronze, and the last one was fine iron. The 4 doors of light reflected 4 different colors, forming the uniqueness of this 4-colored space. Every ancestral land has a different level of difficulty. The gold ancestral land will have at most 1 Chan River Yao tribe member. The silver ancestral land will have at most 2 Chan River Yao tribe members. The bronze ancestral land will have at most 3 Chan River Yao tribe members. The fine iron ancestral land will have at most 5 Chan River Yao tribe members. Moreover, every ancestral land will have at most 1 North Chan River crown prince. An indifferent voice sounded in his ear. Lin Feng's heart trembled. This was the voice of the North Chan River king, Tang Ji. Sweeping his gaze across the area, he saw a group of Chan River Yao tribe members gathered. They were all wary of each other and wavering. Lin Feng's arrival attracted the attention of the Chan River Yao tribe members, including the top 10 North Chan River experts and Violet Electric. Lin Feng did not see Aurora and King Yinhuang. Clearly, these two experts were the first to make a decision. 1, 2, 3, 5. That means only 11 of us can survive. Lin Feng's heart trembled. The competition for the North Chan River King position was very cruel. Moreover, 11 was the most, not the least. The final result could be 10, 9, 8, or even less. Moreover, every ancestral land would have at most one North Chan River Crown Prince. It was not a certainty. There were too many meanings hidden within. There are 17 of us here. Lin Feng calculated in his heart. There are 17 left at the ancestral statues. Including Aurora, King Yinhuang, and myself, there are 37 of us. The death rate would be very shocking. In front, the Chan River Yao tribe members were arguing and arguing. Aurora entered the Bronze Gate, while King Yinhuang entered the Silver Gate. Don't talk nonsense. Aurora clearly entered the Iron Gate, and King Yinhuang entered the Golden Gate. Which of you saw it? Which of you saw it? The choice of the ancestral land was not only crucial, but also extremely important. If he made the right choice, not only would his chances of survival be greatly increased, his chances of becoming the Crown Prince of North Chan River would also be greatly increased. Violet Electric's beautiful eyes flickered as she fell into deep thought. Even someone as smart as her was trying to come up with the best plan. The most important problem now was where Aurora and King Yinhuang would go. Not a single Chang River Demon Clan member saw him. Including Violet Electric, all of the North Chan River's 10 strongest fighters wanted to avoid the 2 strongest fighters. Aurora and King Yinhuang were much stronger than the others. Lin Feng was also hesitant at this moment. Among the Chan River Yao tribe members, I might be able to fight Violet Electric. Princess Tang Wanfeng's strength is unknown, but I'm not afraid of the North Chan River's 10 strongest fighters. Lin Feng quickly sorted out his thoughts. He was also afraid of Aurora and King Yinhuang. I'll eliminate the Golden Ancestral Land first. Once either Aurora or King Yinhuang chooses there, the death rate will be very high. Not to mention, the Golden Ancestral Land is the most dangerous place. A huge golden figure appeared in Lin Feng's mind. It had killed him countless times. The guardian beast on the 3rd level of the Boundary Pagoda was golden. Against it with his current strength, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled softly. His first thought would be to choose the Golden Ancestral Land, which was full of challenges and unknowns. But logic told him not to do so. Choosing the Golden Ancestral Land was not bravery, but recklessness. The 4th level, the fine Iron Ancestral Land. Lin Feng glanced at it. In an instant, a bolt of lightning flashed. Violet Electric's beautiful and perfect figure disappeared as she entered. She chose the fine Iron Ancestral Land, which was the least difficult. What a rational decision. Lin Feng smiled. The fine Iron Ancestral Land could only allow 5 Chan River Yao tribe members to survive. In other words, the chances of survival were high, and the difficulty was low. Most importantly, Violet Electric knew King Yinhuang and Aurora very well. With King Yinhuang and Aurora's arrogance, they probably won't choose the fine Iron Ancestral Land, Lin Feng thought. The 2 strongest fighters passed through the ancestral statues one after the other. They were much faster than the other Chan River Yao tribe members. So, it's very likely that they will encounter each other here. Only one Northern Chan River Crown Prince can be born in each ancestral land. In other words, King Yinhuang and Aurora will each occupy one ancestral land. Unless they have a deep wish, they will definitely choose one out of the 3 ancestral lands: gold, silver, and bronze. As for which 2 they will choose, it was hard to say. With King Yinhuang's arrogance, even if he doesn't choose the gold ancestral land, he will definitely choose the silver ancestral land. Aurora should see King Yinhuang's actions before making a decision. If King Yinhuang chooses the gold ancestral land, the probability of Aurora choosing the silver ancestral land is very high. If King Yinhuang chooses the silver ancestral land, Aurora will definitely choose the bronze ancestral land. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The most rational decision he made was to make the same choice as Violet Electric and enter the fine, iron ancestral land. Violet Electric was very smart. She purposely chose to enter in front of all the Chan River demons as a warning to them. The crown prince of the fine, iron ancestral land was hers. Choosing the fine, iron ancestral land is too easy. Lin Feng immediately rejected the idea. He was not here to fight for the throne, so there was no need to make such a choice. Moreover, from what he had seen the previous 3 trials, the king of northern Chan River, Tang Ji's trials were very mysterious. There were many traps. If he made the right choice, he would be able to discover the secrets within. It would be of great help. Silver ancestral land, bronze ancestral land. Lin Feng pondered. The 2 ancestral lands had their own advantages and disadvantages. It was difficult to choose. During this time, the Chan River demons arrived one after another. The last 17 Chan River demons followed Lin Feng's method and passed the ancestral statues test unscathed. Hey, you all passed? How is that possible? You all passed? No way, how did you all do it? We worked very well together before, but 7 of us died. The arrival of a large group of Chan River demons shocked the other Chan River demons. After all, there were many of them. What, it's that simple? Are you kidding me? F***CK, that works too. Tang Foam? Which one? Ah, the one who killed Black Worm. He's too amazing. He can even find a way. Many gazes were filled with envy, jealousy, respect, competition, and fear. In an instant, Lin Feng became the target of public criticism. At this time, Lin Feng had already stepped forward. He did not want to waste time. He had already made his decision. Let's go there. Lin Feng's gaze was resolute. Chapter 1576. The Silver Ancestral Land. Lin Feng didn't consider it for long. The only ones he feared were King Yanwang and Aurora. At most, only one of the 2 would enter the Silver Ancestral Land. More importantly, he didn't need to kill until there was only one left in the Silver Ancestral Land. If he entered the Gold Ancestral Land, it would be very tragic. If he didn't succeed, he would die trying. There was no meaning in fighting with his back against the wall in such a favorable situation. Furthermore, the Gold Ancestral Land was full of danger. If he simply wanted to seize the 4 North Chan River Crown Prince's positions, the best choice would be the Bronze Ancestral Land, followed by the fine Iron Ancestral Land, which Violet Electric had entered, and the Gold Ancestral Land. The Silver Ancestral Land had the lowest chance of seizing the Crown Prince's positions. After all, with King Yanwang's chances of choosing one of the 2, the Gold Ancestral Land had a 50% chance of being empty. However, even if King Yanwang wasn't there, the Silver Ancestral Land had a high chance of Aurora being there. He estimated that there was more than an 80% chance of encountering either King Yanwang or Aurora. But because of this, it was even more challenging. Tang Feng went in. He chose the Silver Ancestral Land. Too stupid. That's the most dangerous place. That's right. If it were me, I wouldn't enter the Silver Ancestral Land, even if I was beaten to death. The Chan River demons discussed fervently. Although Lin Feng was a chaos hole undying, he was already quite famous among the Chan River demons. Killing one of the 10 great warriors, Black Bug, was enough to prove his combat strength. Even if he couldn't compare to the 3 strongest warriors, he was at least at the level of the North Chan River's 10 great warriors. Passing 3 stages in a row and passing through the ancestral statue unscathed proved Lin Feng's intelligence. Such a brave and resourceful Chan River demon made the other demons fear him. We're not going to the Silver Ancestral Land, right? Of course. Brother Tang Feng helped us pass the previous stage. How can we compete with him? That sounds nice. You're just afraid of Brother Tang Feng. Haha. Actually, the Silver Ancestral Land itself is very difficult, second only to the Gold Ancestral Land. Only 2 people can survive. I don't want to throw my life away. I think so too. At least one of King Yanwang and Aurora is in the Silver Ancestral Land, plus Tang Feng. TSK. Lin Feng's entry also caused a series of ripples. Originally, among the 4 ancestral lands, the Silver Ancestral Land was dangerous, but the danger was not obvious. Now, in the eyes of the Chan River Demon Clan, it was a red light. As long as they used their brains, they would not choose the Silver Ancestral Land. Whoosh, a fragrant wind blew past. After Lin Feng, eldest Princess Tang, Luanfeng also made her choice to enter the Ancestral Bronze Land. Her choice was very wise. She avoided Violet Electric and King Yanwang. As for whether she could avoid Aurora, that would depend on her luck. After eldest Princess Tang Luanfeng, the North River Demon Clan's top 10 experts made their choice one by one. With their status, they naturally couldn't wait for all the Chan River Yao tribe to make a decision. The strongest, Yin Zun, made the same choice as first Princess Tang Luanfeng. Su Jian, who was ranked second, entered the ancestral land of Essence Iron. Yu Long and One-Eyed Swallow entered the ancestral bronze and fine iron ancestral lands. Of the top 10, only 2 made other choices. Chess entered the gold ancestral land. Heart Closing Sword, ranked third among the top 10, entered the silver ancestral land. After them, the Chan River Demon Clan's members made their choice one after another. Basically, they chose the fine iron ancestral land because it had the highest number of survivors. Next was the bronze ancestral land. Only 2 Chan River Demon Clan's members chose the silver ancestral land. The advanced Black Region Master, Wu Che, and the intermediate Black Region Master, Harry 7. The gold ancestral land had 3 Chan River Demon Clan's members. One of them was the Chaos Hole Undying, Gao Ze, who had passed 3 trials with Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng had already stepped into the silver door of light. What entered his sight was a winding, snake-shaped passage. White mist shrouded this long snake path, as if it led to the horizon with no end in sight. Lin Feng leaped lightly and stepped into the snake path. The silver scales on his body reflected a bright luster. The air here was very thin, and there was a familiar feeling. World Tower's alternate space. Lin Feng was surprised. He was all too familiar with the alternate space of the World Tower. He had stayed there for 10,000 years. However, the environment here was different from the alternate space of the World Tower. Maybe it's just similar. Lin Feng's gaze swept across his surroundings. The area here was vast, but just like the alternate space of the World Tower, everything here was monotonous. Below the snake path was a long river with deep colors. The flowing water was very calm, but it contained an intense energy. Chan River. Lin Feng was very curious. This long river was exactly the same as the Chan River. However, the silver scales of the snake path reflected a silver light, making the entire river look silver. Is this the silver ancestral land? Or is this just a passageway? Lin Feng frowned slightly. His gaze paused on the silver river for a while, unsure if he should enter. Let's go forward first. Let's see what's at the end of this snake path. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the silver river. His intuition told him that this long river was not simple. Then, Lin Feng turned into a meteor and sped forward. What the hell is this place? How do we get out? A green-faced man in gray armor cursed. He was the high-level Black Region Master, Wu Che, who had entered after Lin Feng. Traveling on this long, silver snake path, there was no end to it. He had already traveled for an entire year. However, the scenery in front of him did not change at all. Pure white clouds floated above the snake path. He could not see the direction nor the end. Numerous forks appeared on the snake path. Damn it! Wu Che clenched his teeth, suppressing the anger in his heart. 1 year, another year. 5 years passed, 10 years passed, and it was still the same. In this endless snake path, time seemed to have lost its meaning. Wu Che's eyes were bloodshot and his hair was disheveled. However, he was extremely excited, close to madness. Roar! With a loud roar, Wu Che fell into the silver river. Suddenly, Wu Huan's bloodshot eyes seemed to have seen a ghost. He struggled with all his might and screamed hysterically, "No! Save me! Save me! I don't want to die!" His voice became softer and softer. Wu Che's body slowly sank into the silver river and did not float up again. This silver river was like a giant beast. With a slight opening of its mouth, it swallowed a high-level black region master. Complete control. The powerful force was like the wrath of heaven. Of the 4 Chan River monsters that entered the Silver Ancestral Land, the first to die. Chapter 1577. On the silver-scaled snake path, there were countless forks. Although each fork only split into 2, 2 would split into 4, 4 would split into 8, and the further one went, the more terrifying the forks became. There was no end to them. Unlike Wu Xian, who was driven mad by the endless forks and jumped into the Chan River, Lin Feng chose another method: cultivate. Having cultivated in the Boundary Tower's alternate space, which was similar to the silver-scaled snake path, Lin Feng couldn't be more familiar with such an environment. He even felt a sense of familiarity. However, he was the only one in the alternate space, while there were other Chan River demons on the silver-scaled snake path. It didn't matter. Because the silver-scaled snake path was forward, Lin Feng wasn't worried about encountering King Yen Wang or Aurora. If he really did encounter them, it meant that the entire path wasn't a straight line, but a circle. It was best to use this as an excuse to confirm. He really wanted to know what would happen if he continued to stay on the silver-scaled snake path. However, more than 10 years had passed, and nothing had happened. It was peaceful, and he didn't even see the other Chan River demons. It's a bit like the alternate space of the Boundary Tower. Lin Feng smiled and continued to hone his saber technique. My current saber technique realm has long reached the initial arrival of the heavenly Tao. However, I haven't been able to reach the next level, marrow entry. After 10,000 years of bitter cultivation in the alternate space of the Boundary Tower, his saber technique realm had reached the peak of perfection. However, it was still very difficult to break through to marrow entry. The initial arrival of the heavenly Tao was on par with the Black Region Master's strength. However, marrow entry was beyond the Black Region Master's strength. Although my combat strength is comparable to the Black Domain Master's, and my life rating has been increased by the 10,000 Origin Mustard Stone, so I'm on the same level as the Black Domain Master. However, it's still somewhat difficult for me to comprehend a power that surpasses the Black Domain Master's level. Since the alternate space of the Boundary Tower, he had been trying to break through. He had comprehended all 3 boundary saber techniques and could unleash 100%, 120%, and 150% of the initial arrival strength. After fusing with the laws, his strength was even stronger. However, strength was only an extension of strength, not the essence of strength. The 2 paths were completely different. Perhaps, if I were to create the 4th boundary saber art and reach 170%, 180%, or even 200% of the initial arrival realm's power, I would be able to comprehend the profoundness of the marrow initiation realm. Lin Feng closed his eyes and gestured gently. Silence. Empty realm. Nothingness. With Lin Feng's current level of strength, Realmless Blade's 3 moves were comparable to a normal Black Domain Master. It was on the same level as Fallen Revered, Void Arrow, and Heart Closing Sword of the North Chan River's 10 Great Experts, as well as Violet Electric of the 3 Great Experts. It's still very difficult. The corners of Lin Feng's mouth curled up as he smiled bitterly. However, in this peaceful and picturesque silver-scaled snake path, there was no rush, and there was no harm in slowly comprehending it. Other than Lin Feng, there were 2 other demons from Chan River trying to find their way out of the endless snake path. They were 7 Hairs and Heart Closing Sword, who had entered after Lin Feng. Harry 7, who was good at scheming and outstandingly intelligent, chose this place because the competition here was smaller. With his strength, there was no difference between encountering the North Chan River's 10 Great Experts and encountering the 3 Great Experts. Therefore, if he wanted to compete for the only spot, he would have a higher chance of entering this seemingly dangerous Silver Ancestral Land. Only idiots would enter this fake Chan River. 7 Hairs disdained the silver Chan River below. This silver Chan River looked exactly the same as the real Chan River, making it impossible to tell which was the real one. However, 7 Hair had already seen through it. Isn't this snake path a test of patience? Whoever has the worst patience and jumps into the fake Chan River first will lose. In addition, the first to find the exit will be able to enter the ancestral land, and there may only be 2 spots. Seven Hairs muttered to himself. To him, this wasn't bad news. At least it was better than relying on strength. Relying on his brain was his forte. If he really wanted to rely on strength, he was only an intermediate Black Domain Master. Even if his strength was comparable to an advanced Black Domain Master, it was still limited. There must be a pattern to this snake path. As long as I find a pattern, I will be able to leave. Seven Hairs had been paying attention to the silver scales below his feet. He wanted to find something from them, but he couldn't find anything. Then he looked at the clouds in the sky, but he still couldn't find anything. Could it be this fake Chan River? Seven Hairs' eyes shone. As he sped forward, he observed the fake Chan River. He knew that it wasn't easy to find it with the naked eye. Only by personally experiencing it would he gain something. Day after day, year after year, the clouds drifted and the snake path's silver scales shone brightly, reflecting the water of the fake Chan River. Seven Hairs' eyes widened as he stopped. Could it be this? Yes, it's definitely this. I understand now. Seven Hairs was extremely excited. After more than 10 years of observation, he finally had a result. Seven Hairs clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with excitement. Finding a way meant that he could quickly leave the snake path and enter the real, silver, ancestral land. In this place, he had already taken a lead. So, Seven Hairs sped forward, his gaze sweeping past the fake Chan River. The silver scales were reflected on his face, reflecting his excitement. Once he entered the ancestral land, he would become one of the 2 qualified. At that time, he would have to choose one of the 2 to become the crown prince of North Chan River. Here. Yes, just like that. Seven Hairs pursed his lips. A confident smile appeared on his face. He raised his head slightly and sped through the snake path. Although he wasn't sure if he was the first, he believed that he would be one of the first 2. Suddenly, HM? Seven Hairs saw a figure in the distance and was slightly surprised. He didn't expect to meet a Chan River demon here. As the distance closed, Seven Hairs' eyes dilated as he recognized the demon. It's that chaotic whole, undying. Seven Hairs was still somewhat fearful of Lin Feng, even more so than the 10 great warriors of North Chan River. It was an ironclad fact that Lin Feng could kill Blackworm. So what if he's strong? The first to reach the ancestral land will definitely be me. Seven Hairs smiled confidently, not even looking at Lin Feng as he sped past. However, at this moment, the situation suddenly changed. Rumble! The surrounding space shook intensely. Seven Hairs was stunned as he felt a strong suction force coming from beneath his feet. His speed was suppressed, and his face turned pale. What are you doing? Just as his voice rang out, an illusory white light condensed in the void and transformed into a battle blade that fell down. Seven Hairs' eyes widened in shock as he tried to dodge. However, the blade light and power were too fast and too fast. No! Seven Hairs screamed and struggled with all his might, but he was like a prey on a spider's web with nowhere to hide. Rumble. Chapter 1578. Being smart and cunning did not mean everything. Most of the time, strength was the only criterion. Even though Hair 7 was resourceful and made it to the last checkpoint, his strength was too weak. Lin Feng's expression was calm. With his strength, killing Harry 7 was naturally a piece of cake. First one, Lin Feng threw Hair 7's body down the silver snake path. In the blink of an eye, it was swallowed by the silver Chan River. Like a giant beast opening its bloody mouth, the silver Chan River was different from the real Chan River. As expected, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He had been suspicious for a long time, but had not verified it. Now he was sure. According to Tang Ji, the king of the northern Chan River, there were only 2 places to survive in the silver ancestral land. Lin Feng did not care if he could become the crown prince, but he had to fight to survive. One less opponent meant one more chance. Being kind to the enemy was being cruel to oneself. Lin Feng knew this very well. I wonder how many Chan River demons have entered the silver snake path. Lin Feng thought to himself. Other than Aurora and King Yin Wang before me, as long as I kill all the other Chan River demons, I will definitely get one of the two places to survive. At the moment, taking the initiative to attack might not be beneficial. Apart from the possibility of encountering one of the three strongest people who was stronger than him, he would also waste a lot of time on deciphering. It was not worth it. Since there is no time limit here, I might as well cultivate slowly. Lin Feng had plenty of patience. To be able to cultivate in the empty and lonely space of the Boundary Tower for 10,000 years, it was obvious. Every minute that passed was another minute. If I can create the fourth move of the Boundary Sword technique, or even comprehend a trace of the heavenly way of the sword into the marrow, my strength will improve by another level. Lin Feng thought to himself. If he only looked at the present, finding a way to leave the silver snake path was the right way. But sooner or later, he would have to face the three strongest people. Even if he did not encounter King Yin Wang and Aurora here, he would still encounter them when choosing the four crown princes. Even if I can't match them, I have to at least have the strength to fight. Lin Feng entered the state of cultivation again. A lone swordsman was walking on the silver-scaled snake path. His eyes were empty and white. He had already lost his sight. However, with the miraculous nature of the fruit of heaven and earth and his status, it would not be difficult for him to regain his sight. However, he did not do so, because his eyes were blinded by himself. The heart-closing sword believed that only without his eyes would his heart's eye become stronger and his heart sword reach a higher level. He was ranked third among the top 10 experts of the North Luan River, second only to Yunzun and Sujian. Brother He, I will definitely avenge you. Entering the Silver Ancestors' land, heart-closing Jian only had one goal, and that was to avenge Blackworm. The other Chan River Yao tribe did not know much about him, much less his relationship with Blackworm. When he was young, the black bug had saved his life. Now that Blackworm had died miserably, the heart-closing sword naturally wouldn't let him die in vain. Tang Feng, immortal chaos hole. The heart-closing sword searched for a way out, as well as Lin Feng's figure. Although he could not see, his heart's eye was brighter than the other Chan River Yao tribe members. He did not underestimate Lin Feng. On the contrary, he knew Blackworm's strength better than anyone else. The Black Bug's attack power might be the weakest among the 10 great masters, but the Black Bug's defense power was enough to rank in the top 3. Although it will be a fierce battle, you will be the one to die. The heart-closing sword held a broadsword with ancient patterns as he slowly walked on the silver-scaled snake path. Year after year, decades passed in the blink of an eye. Time seemed to pass extremely slowly here. Lin Feng knew that this was the same as the World Pagoda's alternate space. Although decades had passed, not even half a year had passed in the outside world. After decades of cultivation, Lin Feng's saber technique realm had steadily improved. The fourth move of the Boundary Saber technique had vaguely taken shape, but there was still a long way to go before it was fully formed. However, he had reached a bottleneck. Lin Feng had encountered this bottleneck before. When he created the third move of the Boundary Saber technique, Nihility, he spent thousands of years to break through the bottleneck. After that, he smoothly created the third move that could unleash 150% of the initial arrival realm. The fourth move is even stronger. When Lin Feng was creating the move, he already had a feeling in his heart. With his current saber technique realm, it was very easy to create a saber technique that could unleash 100% of the initial arrival of the heavenly Tao. It could be done in decades or years, but it was useless. Percentage was not simply an accumulation of numbers. The difference between 100% of the initial arrival realm and 110% of the initial arrival realm was calculated in multiples. Therefore, when he created the first and second moves of the Boundary Saber technique, he did not spend too much energy. However, when he created the third move, he expended a lot of energy. However, the benefits were great as well, allowing him to reach the peak of the initial arrival realm. Now, the bottleneck would only be greater. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long sigh and shook his head. He could not continue immersing himself in it. Although he hoped that he could create the fourth move of the boundary saber technique in one go and then comprehend the heavenly Tao's marrow realm, there was no such thing as perfection in the world. Lin Feng stood up and looked around. His gaze stopped on the Silver Chan River. He knew very well how dangerous the seemingly beautiful and calm Silver Chan River was. He had devoured Harry 7 mercilessly like a giant beast devouring its prey. There should be some Chan River demons who can't find the exit and jump into the Silver Chan River, Lin Feng thought. I chose the Silver Ancestors' land, coupled with King Yin Wang and Aurora, as well as the danger of the Silver Ancestors' land itself. I believe that there won't be many Chan River demons who choose this place. Lin Feng analyzed. Decades have passed, and I haven't been eliminated. There's also nothing abnormal about the Silver Snake Path. Lin Feng thought to himself. It was a problem whether he could leave or not. He believed that the Silver Snake Path had its own pattern, but he had not discovered it. This was because when he saw Harry 7, his expression told him everything. If Harry 7 could discover it, so could he. Let's look around first, said Lin Feng. After all, he was at a bottleneck in creating his saber art. Blindly cultivating might not be useful. He might as well walk around and take a look. Perhaps he would be inspired. Besides, even if he found a way to leave the Silver Snake Path, it did not mean that he had to leave. Finding it is better than not finding it at all. Lin Feng smiled. At the very least, there was a higher possibility. He traveled along the Silver Snake Path, sometimes strolling and sometimes pondering. After a few decades, Lin Feng once again explored the silver-scaled Snake Tao. The feeling was different. The space seemed to have changed. The Silver Chan River became more eye-catching. The clouds appeared, and the silver scales became more distinct. From the looks of it, stopping for decades is still useful. Lin Feng smiled. The Silver Snake Path naturally had its own pattern. It was more difficult in the beginning, but as time passed, the difficulty would gradually decrease. It was impossible to trap him there forever. After all, this was only a passageway. The true Silver Ancestors' land was at the end of the passageway. So that's how it is. Lin Feng suddenly smiled.